Chapter 1017. Xiao Wanru had a hunch that Marquis Xing's mansion would dig out more things this time. As for Wang Xingxue of the Ministry of Justice, she didn't care whether he was alive or dead. In fact, people like Wang Xingxue could have died long ago. In vain, she had sympathized with him in her last life. Even if her reputation was ruined because of him, she felt that it was not his fault. Thinking of it now, it was ridiculous. Such a scheming and ambitious person had been secretly working for the Zhang's family and dragged her into the swamp of blood and mud again and again. How could he be innocent? For Marquis Xing's mansion, this sharp knife could be broken, so what if she has a title? Similar questions were asked in Marquis Xing's mansion. There was no one else in the room, only the young couple talking under the lamp. But there was no sweet talk at all. One leaned against the bed, and the other sat in the chair, both frowning slightly. Zhao Shiran exhaled hard and said, "Just now Princess Chen sent something over and said mean words. I know that concubine Jiang and Princess Chen don't get along, so I didn't care about it. But then I thought that concubine Jiang has offended a lot of people in the past. Now she is losing power and I'm afraid that something bad will happen, so I hurriedly sent my old maids to her." Zhao Shiran told him the whole story, which made Xiao Hua and frown more tightly. It seemed that she was saying that concubine Chen was mean, but the point was not Zhao Shiran. Suddenly, he thought of something and his eyebrows twitched fiercely. "I don't think anyone in the mansion will hurt concubine Jiang, but I'm still worried," Zhao Shiran said tentatively in a soft voice. Xiao Hua interrupted her and said, "You did the right thing. Concubine Jiang has indeed offended a lot of people in the past, so it's better to have someone take care of her. One old maid is not enough, so we have to prepare a few more. Although she is now a concubine, she is my biological mother. She was not in good health before, so we should have someone take good care of her and not let the servants humiliate her." Zhao Shiran raised his head and looked at Xiao Hua in surprise. This was completely different from the indifferent and even angry look that Xiao Hua had shown before. In this mansion, only third aunt and concubine Jiang don't get along well. It's possible for them to embezzle some money, but I'm afraid that they won't directly deal with concubine Jiang. Zhao Shiran pinched the handkerchief and asked tentatively. Xiao Hua said in a low voice. After a long while, he stood up and walked to the window to take a look. Then, he reached out and pulled the curtain down. Then, he turned back to the bed and sat down beside Zhao Shiran. He reached out and pulled Zhao Shiran into his arms. "Father, there's someone outside." "Ah." Zhao Shiran was stunned. She really didn't know about this. Xiao Jing looked very kind and didn't seem to be the kind of person who would do such a thing. Are you mistaken?" "There's no mistake. It's concubine Jiang who said that. Concubine Jiang is raising a woman outside. If father is tempted at this time, concubine Jiang is indeed in danger." Xiao Hua said, his face filled with embarrassment. This kind of thing was the most difficult to deal with as a son. It happened so suddenly that he didn't expect it, but Zhao Shiran's words reminded him. At the moment, his father's interests might not be on his side. He was sure that Xiao Jing wouldn't marry another noble lady because he was looking at their common interests. But now, he wasn't so sure. Since it's an outsider, her status shouldn't be high. Father won't directly marry her. "Shall we marry her?" Zhao Shiran asked. "Who knows? Maybe he has already brought her in. According to mother, it's been a long time." Xiao Hua said impatiently. This kind of thing wasn't something he should worry about, but at such a critical moment, he had to worry about it. Thinking about it, he became more and more annoyed with Madame Jiang. How could it become like this? Even the Empress Dowager was alerted. "No, don't worry about it." Zhao Shiran suppressed the raging waves in her heart. "Did you forget what I said just now? Concubine Jiang has an honorary title. I don't know whether the Empress Dowager or the Empress has forgotten about it. The Empress was in charge of the noble lady's honorary titles, but if the Empress Dowager wanted to, it was also possible. Madame Jiang didn't know who made the mistake, but she was the fish that escaped the net. Concubine Jiang is now a concubine, and she has an honorary title. From this point alone, if father wants to marry another woman, that woman must have a high status. Otherwise, how could she suppress a concubine with an honorary title? Zhao Shiran analyzed. But now, it's just that the palace has forgotten about it. Who knows when the palace will issue another decree and directly erase concubine Jiang's honorary title. Xiao Huan was very annoyed. No. Zhao Shiran shook his head with certainty. What do you mean? Xiao Huan didn't understand. Not twice for the same thing. There are rules in the palace. Zhao Shiran thought for a while and explained. The so-called not twice for the same thing meant that since Madame Jiang had already lost her position as the legal wife because of her mistake, it was unreasonable to punish her for the same thing. If Madame Jiang had directly issued a decree to remove her from the legal wife position, it would have been fine. But now that Madame Jiang had been punished, it would be against the rules to punish her again. Xiao Huan didn't really understand the rules of the Ministry of Rights, but he was too concerned and couldn't remember it at the moment. Hearing Zhao Shiran's words, his eyes immediately lit up and he nodded repeatedly. Yes, concubine Jiang still has the honorary title. No matter who wants to marry into the family, it's not so easy. Not only that, there is also the matter of the Ministry of Penalty. Since concubine Jiang still has the honorary title, she doesn't have to go to court. Husband, send someone to the Ministry of Penalty to explain this matter. Now concubine Jiang is still injured, mentally unstable, and fainted from time to time. It's really inconvenient for her to go to court, and it's also inconvenient for her to go because of her status. Zhao Shiran reminded him. In the mansion, the legal wife and the concubine were clearly divided according to the family rules, but outside the mansion, the legal wife and the concubine were completely different. Xiao Huan nodded repeatedly. It was indeed the legal wife, but after thinking for a while, he had new doubts. The matter of the Ministry of Penalty has to be dealt with, right? Wang Xingxue, the libertine, is still in prison. Qiu Yu also made such a scene just for this case. Thinking of this, he felt very annoyed and had no other thoughts. He stood up and paced around twice, only feeling a headache. His mother was really useless. She even used Wang Xingxue, the libertine, who could not accomplish anything, but was good at spoiling things. Husband, for whom do you think Wang Xingxue framed child Yan this time? Zhao Shiran looked much calmer, leaning against the bed and asking. She was also in charge of the house in Marquis Xing's mansion, so she naturally knew child Yan, who lived in the outer courtyard. Is it concubine Jiang again? Xiao Huan said angrily. Yes, no matter what. Wang Xingxue did it for someone this time, but it can't be for concubine Jiang. During this time, she was in the Yuhui nunnery, so it was impossible for her to order Wang Xingxue to do anything, let alone to frame child Yan, who had nothing to do with her. Zhao Shiran shook her head and said, who else in the mansion can order Wang Xingxue? At the end of the sentence, Zhao Shiran's voice suddenly stopped. She looked at Xiao Huan in horror, and Xiao Huan also looked at her in horror. When the two of them looked at each other, they immediately had an answer. Zhao Shiran took a deep breath and looked gloomy. She could not be the wife of a concubine's son, and the child she gave birth to could not be a concubine's son. Father. Xiao Huan also took a deep breath, and then his face changed greatly. Both of them were smart people, and they immediately thought of the only answer. Father, why did you do this? Xiao Huan murmured. Yan Shi was a gentle and talented person. During the period when he lived in the mansion, Xiao Huan would visit him occasionally. He felt that Yan Shi should be able to pass the imperial examination, so he was very friendly with him. However, he was afraid that he would delay his imperial examination, so he was not very close to him. Don't worry about why father did this. At present, all the key is Wang Xingxue, whether father or mother, if this person. Zhao Shiran's voice became lower and lower, and she even deliberately paused here. Although she did not say it clearly, her meaning was very clear. Wang Xingxue should die. Xiao Hua's eyes lit up. As for the matter of the Ministry of Justice, concubine Jiang refuses to go to the honorary title, and Wang Xingxue is locked up in prison. If anything happens, it has nothing to do with concubine Jiang. As for the other people, that pair of unbearable sisters can actually be bribed. Zhao Shiran said. Xiao Hua understood and happily sat in front of the bed again. He held Zhao Shiran in his arms and patted her gently. Shiran, you are really my lucky star. In this way, everything will be solved. When I'm a little better, I'll ask old madam to take me into the palace and meet the Empress Dowager directly. I'll say that what happened yesterday was my own carelessness, not my mother-in-law's fault. Zhao Shiran gritted his teeth and increased his bargaining chip. As a concubine, although it was very satisfying for her, she could not be impatient and spoil the big plan. If Madame Zhang's status fell, Xiao Hua could only be a son of a concubine. And it sounded that her father-in-law was not a sincere person. She could not let him take advantage of the loophole and make any more trouble. Even if Madame Jiang died, she had to die in the position of legal wife. Shiran, it's my great fortune to marry you. Xiao Hua naturally understood what Zhao Shiran meant. Thinking of how she had been willing to compromise for his sake, and how she had taken on all the responsibilities without waiting for him to ask, how could he not be touched? He hugged Zhao Shiran tightly, and a trace of sadness flashed across his eyes. In this way, the suspicion on his mother would be almost cleared. The Empress Dowager punished his mother for 2 reasons. One was that she plotted against Prince Chen, and the other was that she caused Zhao Shiran to have a miscarriage. At present, if these 2 things were not serious, and his mother still had the honorary title, it was not impossible for her to return to the position of legal wife. Even if she was not the legal wife, she could also be a co-wife. If he responded to Zhao Shiran's words and called Madame Jiang concubine Jiang, he could make Zhao Shiran take the initiative to let him go. As for how to deal with Wang Xingxue in the Ministry of Justice, there were actually quite a lot of ways. Chapter 1018. Wang Xingxue is dead. When Xiao Wanru got the news, she looked very calm. She put down a maple leaf in her hand and looked at the incomplete pattern calmly. This was the news that she had expected. When she sent the old clothes to Marquis Xing's mansion and reminded Zhao Shiran, she had already expected it. There were rings within rings. Of course, there were more than just a few of them. Of course, she was not just mean on the surface when she sent the old clothes back. If Zhao Shiran was not a scheming person, he would not have thought so much and extended so much. As for Xiao Hua although the current matter seemed to have little to do with Xiao Hua things would not have gone so smoothly without Xiao Hua Wang Xingxue had been working for Madame Jiang of Marquis Xing and Xiao Jing of Marquis Xing in his 2 lives. As a sharp knife in their hands and a qualified hatchet man, he was finally destroyed in his own hands in this life. She was naturally a little excited, but it was just a little. Everything was in her hands, and Wang Xingxue's fate was also fixed. How did he die? It was said that he was poisoned to death. It was a jailer who sent a meal from Wang's mansion and paid money to send it in. Unexpectedly, Wang Xingxue died as soon as he ate it. When they went to find that person, he had already disappeared. Qing reported. Of course, it was not easy to find a person with no background in the capital city. Even this person might have left the city and never come back. Of course, there was another possibility that this person was dead. Even if they found him, it would be useless. This clue was broken. Wang Xingxue probably did not expect that he would die in the hands of someone from Marquis Xing's mansion until he died. What did the people outside say? Xiao Wanru asked lightly and narrowed her watery eyes with a distant look. The people outside all insinuated that this matter had something to do with Marquis Xing. It was obvious that the means used to kill Child Yen were not the means of the mansion. Wang Xingxue and Child Yen had no grudges in the past, so if Child Yen had offended someone, it was most likely to be Marquis Xing. However, there is no evidence now. Qing said. Today, she specially went out to inquire about this information. Princess, if you want to find out, I will take someone to investigate. Xiao Wanru waved her hand to stop her and said, there's no need. After such a thing happened, the Ministry of Justice will definitely send out a lot of people. Wouldn't it be a slap in the face of the Ministry of Justice if they killed someone in the cell of the Ministry of Justice? At this time, don't do anything and just ask about the rumors outside. At this time, if anyone made any strange movements, it would certainly arouse the suspicion of many people. Even the emperor would be alarmed and secretly send people to investigate this matter. At this time, whoever made a move was the most likely one. At a time like this, he couldn't act rashly. In fact, that cell was only a temporary cell. Because Wang Xingxue had not been tried in public, he had been temporarily detained and had not been convicted. In addition, everyone thought that his case was not a big deal, so the Ministry of Justice did not take it seriously. That was why someone took advantage of the loophole and dealt with Wang Xingxue. It had to be said that the lady of honorary title of the Jiang family had played a role in delaying them. She had delayed them until the preparations were complete and they had directly taken action. The current situation of the Jiang family was enough to make people not suspect her. This was a good time. Yes, I know. Qing nodded. In the past few days, except Grandma and her, no matter who comes, refuse them. Just tell them that I am recuperating and it is inconvenient for me to see others. Xiao Wanru ordered. Your Highness, what if they come from the palace? Yu Jie reminded her worriedly. She could refuse the guests at the front door. Anyway, the princess seldom received guests. No one from the palace will come. These days, imperial physicians have been coming in and out, which means that I am in poor health. Even if the Empress Dowager finds out the truth, she will not specially send anyone to me. At most, she will send some medicinal materials to nourish my body. Xiao Wanru said. In fact, not only the Empress Dowager, but also all the people in the palace, including the Empress Dowager, the Empress, and even Zhao Di, who had only met her once, had also sent medicinal materials to her. If the palace sends more medicinal materials, you can take them, Xiao Wanru said. Everything showed that she, the imperial consort of Chen, couldn't even take care of herself. Except for that day when she was angry and returned the old clothes to Jiangshi, she didn't do anything else. It was easy to investigate the matter of sending people to be mean to the Jiang family, but because of the cause and effect, what he did was not excessive. Moreover, he was young, so it made sense that he used such a mean way to vent his anger. As for what would happen next, his body would not be able to take it, so how could he do anything else? Yes, we understand. Qing, and Yu Jie looked at each other, immediately smiled knowingly, and then bowed respectfully. Your Highness, I have to report these things to Master. Qing, raised her head and said seriously. When Master left, he told her that if something happened, she must send a message to him. Write it. Xiao Wanru nodded with a smile. I happen to have a letter. Take it to him. Yes, I understand. Qing said with a smile. The princess missed Master, which was a good thing. Master must be very happy. They, who had followed Prince Chen, were the ones who really knew how cold-blooded Prince Chen was. Only this Princess Chen could make Prince Chen warm up. It was not the kind of warm smile on his face, but the kind of warmth that made people feel from the bottom of their hearts. Wang Xingxue is dead. Xiao Jing put down the book in his hand heavily and asked in astonishment. Yes, the Ministry of Justice is already investigating at this time. What should we do now, Master Marquis? The guard said. In fact, they had secretly contacted Wang Xingxue and asked him what to say about it. Now he suddenly died, and he was poisoned to death. What did they say outside? Xiao Jing gritted his teeth and put his hand on his forehead. Recently, things happened one after another, and he also had a headache. It is said that it must have something to do with our Marquis's mansion or Master Marquis. It is most likely that Master Marquis. The guard lowered his head and told him the rumors outside in full detail. The more Xiao Jing listened, the worse his face became. In the end, he suddenly stood up and pushed all the files on the table to the ground. The guard was so scared that he hurriedly stopped talking, took a few steps back, and lowered his head, not daring to say anything. There was only Xiao Jing's heavy breathing in the room. After a long while, Xiao Jing asked, "How is the Ministry of Justice's investigation going?" "I heard that they are still investigating. The person who delivered the vegetables used to be a servant of the prince's mansion, but in fact, there is no such person in the prince's mansion." The guard became more and more respectful. "They are all good-for-nothings," Xiao Jing said sternly and sat down slowly again. At this time, his mind was also in a mess. Originally, he planned to blame everything on Madame Jiang and let Wang Xingxue identify Madame Jiang. At most, Madame Jiang would be executed. Unexpectedly, someone secretly poisoned Wang Xingxue one step ahead of him. Not only did they poison Wang Xingxue in the cell of the Ministry of Justice, but they also led all the suspicion to him. "Marquis, what should we do now?" The guard waited for a while and did not hear Xiao Jing's voice, so he asked cautiously. "Leave first. Don't act rashly at this time. No matter what others say, this matter has nothing to do with me." Xiao Jing gritted his teeth. If he found out who was behind him, he would skin him alive. At this time, he could not do anything that would arouse suspicion, nor could he ask anyone for help. He could not even go out of the prince's mansion. What he had to do now was to be cautious, more cautious. "Yes." The guard quietly retreated. At this time, he could not arouse suspicion or be discovered. Moreover, he had to feel that everything he did had nothing to do with Wang Xingxue and that he could not care about Wang Xingxue. Such a thing was still a little difficult. But with Madame Jiang's help, it was reasonable. Suddenly, he thought that this matter would not benefit him, but Madame Jiang would benefit, and it was Madame Jiang who delayed it. Could it be that this matter had something to do with Madame Jiang? "Come and see concubine Jiang." Xiao Jing stood up and said. Since Madame Jiang was demoted, he had not seen this concubine Jiang in front of him. Madame Jiang's life was much better than before. Zhao Shiran sent 4 old maids at once, and they all served her wholeheartedly. For a while, she had a good impression of Zhao Shiran. As for the handkerchief that Zhao Shiran asked the maid to send to her that day, the old maids also explained it clearly. They said that they were afraid that Princess Chen would vent her anger on her, so they sent the handkerchief to her. However, they did not expect that Princess Chen was so cunning and used this matter as a trigger. After this matter was cleared up, Jiang Shi could be considered to have let go of the previous enmity with Zhao Shiran. The reason why she was so furious that day was because she found that the handkerchief with the smell of medicine in her hand was not hers. Later, after Zhao Shiran came, he asked someone to replace the original dirty one and give it to her. After finding out that there was a smell on the handkerchief, Madame Jiang immediately felt that Zhao Shiran had framed her, so she slapped Zhao Shiran. Thinking of it now, Madame Jiang felt guilty and distressed. After all, Zhao Shiran was her biological grandson. She asked someone to send a message to Zhao Shiran to show that she did not mean to slap him. Of course, her attitude was still very high. After all, she was the mother-in-law. Seeing Xiao Jing coming over, Madame Jiang rolled her eyes and sneered. She asked several old maids in the room to leave. She did have something to say to Xiao Jing. Now that Xiao Jing was here, it was a good time. After resting for a few days, Madame Jiang looked much better, but her eyes fell on Xiao Jing's round face with an uncontrollable coldness. The situation of the husband and wife was very different now. One was so thin that his bones could be seen, and the other was so round that they looked like they were blessed. "Master Marquis, are you happy to see me like this now? Are you willing for me to give up the position of Madame Marquis Xing? After so many years, you have finally done what you want." There were no outsiders in the room, so Madame Jiang did not hold back anymore. She sneered at him with resentment in her eyes. Chapter 10:19. Xiao Jing calmed down at this time. He looked around, picked up a shabby chair, and sat down after steadying himself. You brought all this upon yourself, didn't you? Daughter-in-law is a good person. Why did you beat her? As for Princess Chen, you can't touch her given her current status. After sitting down, Xiao Jing said coldly. Shaking with anger, Madame of Jiang pointed at Xiao Jing and said, I want to touch her. Why should I touch her? I just invited her here to solve Wang Xingshue's problem. How could I touch her? Until now, Madame of Jiang was still very confused about this matter. For a period of time, she was affected by drugs and her memory was very vague. She just wanted to beat Qiu Yu at his own game and let Qiu Yu catch Xiao Wanru's weakness. She didn't mean to deal with Xiao Wanru. She just wanted to threaten Xiao Wanru to settle this matter. Xiao Wanru's current status made Madame of Jiang not dare to act rashly. Who knows if she has lost her mind and has been dealing with her again and again. She is Princess Chen, not an ordinary daughter who marries outside, and also my elder brother's daughter. Xiao Jing said with a sneer. Your elder brother's daughter. Now you know how to talk about your elder brother. You speak as if you respect your elder brother very much. That woman. Madame of Jiang screamed. If you don't want to die, don't mention it casually. There are not only me living in the Marquis's mansion, but also your children. Xiao Jing interrupted Madame of Jiang's words with a stern voice. Madame of Jiang was silent for a moment, took a few deep breaths, and slowly calmed down. Although her face was still gloomy, she was no longer excited. Well, tell me, what should I do now? I can't be a concubine. If you don't intend to save me, don't blame me for saying anything when the time comes. The meaning of her words was obvious. Even though Xiao Jing suppressed his temper, he couldn't help showing coldness in his eyes. In fact, he was more willing to let Madame of Jiang die at this time. Originally, after asking Wang Xingxue to push all the blame onto Madame of Jiang, he would find a way to let Madame of Jiang die. As Marquis Xing of Kingdom, it was very easy for him to kill a demoted concubine or concubine. But now, because of Wang Xingxue's death, this matter was not easy to handle. When he entered the door just now, it was different from what he imagined. So many old maids should be sent by his wife. Did his son doubt his intention, or did Madame Jiang play tricks to ask for them? Did you do that to Wang Xingxue? Xiao Jing didn't beat around the bush and asked directly. About Wang Xingxue. What is it? She was now locked up in the courtyard and had no contact with the people outside. The news had just come out. Zhao Shiran might not even know about it, so how could she know? Seeing that her expression wasn't fake, Xiao Jing said coldly, Wang Xingxue is dead. He was poisoned to death in prison. Dead? Madame Jiang blinked her eyes, then suddenly laughed maniacally. It's good that he's dead, it's good that he's dead. This slut should have died a long time ago. That's great, it's great that he died. At this time, Wang Xingxue had died. If someone else took the responsibility, she wouldn't have to deal with Xiao Wanru, this slut, and she could clear her name. Putting her hand on the edge of the table, Madame Jiang looked at Xiao Jing with a smile, which was completely different from her gloominess just now. Marquis, we have been husband and wife for many years. At this time, we should share weal and woe together. I also promise you that as long as I get through this difficulty this time, you can marry anyone you want in the future. I will definitely uphold the dignity of a legal wife and won't be jealous of others. With hope, Jiang Shi immediately became much more clear-headed, and her attitude became more amiable. She was no longer as cold as before. Her mind worked quickly, and she immediately thought of this condition. Her expression returned to its previous dignified and appropriate state. Xiao Jing carefully looked at Madame Jiang's expression. Seeing that she had changed completely in a moment, a trace of doubt flashed across his eyes. It seemed that it was not Madame Jiang. But if it was not Madame Jiang, who could it be? Who would help her? It seemed that she had done Madame Jiang a great favor. Seeing that Xiao Jing was silent, Madame Jiang thought that this condition was not good enough. She thought for a while and said, Ru is still in the palace now, and it's hard to say what will happen in the future. You don't want Shu-er to stop before that position because of me, her mother, do you? Xiao Jing looked up at Madame Jiang and said, there is no hope for Ru-er. Do you believe it? I gave birth to Ru-er. We all know what kind of person she is. How can she accept her fate? Marquis, don't lie to me. I don't believe that Ru-er will accept her fate, and I don't believe that you will either. Anyway, with Ru-er, everything is possible in the future. Even if she has become a marquis now, so what? Madame Jiang curled her lips and said. Xiao Jing fell silent. Marquis, I'm sure you understand what I'm trying to say. After so many things have happened, if we continue to quarrel, it will benefit others, or even the first elder princess. Huan is not young anymore. If he can't be the crown prince, it will be troublesome. Madame Jiang said again and added more bargaining chips. If Huan is a son of a concubine, it will be impossible. Wang Xingxue really has nothing to do with you. Xiao Jing frowned. Marquis, don't you feel guilty saying this? Look at me now, even if I wanted to, I wouldn't be able to. If not for Shiran being a good person, I'm afraid that no one would know if I died here, and no one would care about me. Madame Jiang curled her lips and said, and then lowered her voice, Marquis, it seems that I am the one in charge of the backyard, but in fact, you are the one in charge. If you want that woman to enter the mansion with a different appearance, I will also protect her from being discovered. What nonsense are you talking about? Xiao Jing swung his sleeves. Marquis, you know whether I am talking nonsense or not. Don't say that you don't have such an idea. I knew you had such an idea a long time ago, but the person who married her in the end was not you. Madame Jiang sneered. Xiao Jing fell silent, and his eyes wandered on Madame Jiang's face. Everything about Madame Jiang was natural, and she just knew that Wang Xingxue was not in trouble. Then who did this to Wang Xingxue? If it was not Madame Jiang, then it was him. Who wanted to deal with him? He was still a criminal now, and he was reprimanded by the emperor. At this time, someone deliberately stepped on him. Not in the backyard, but in the officialdom. Thinking of this, he immediately felt that it was very possible. Even if Madame Jiang had the ability, she could not do it in the Ministry of Penalty. Such means were not like the means of the inner chamber, but the means of a man in his officialdom. At this time, Xiao Jing could not imagine that it was his son who did this. Xiao Huan was not as good as it seemed on the surface, and he just had a good reputation. Since it was not Madame Jiang, and the news revealed by Madame Jiang's words also made Xiao Jing's back feel cold. He had wanted to get rid of Madame Jiang before, because he was afraid that Madame Jiang would talk nonsense when she was down and expose some of his secrets. Now it seemed that Madame Jiang was fine, so his idea naturally changed again. Can you really do it? He raised his eyes and asked. Naturally, I will do it. As long as the Marquis helps me this time, I will listen to the Marquis no matter what you do in the future. I will not cause trouble for the Marquis and help the Marquis manage the household. Jiang Shi promised, as for anything that the Marquis does, I will not care. It's the best that you can think so, but the Empress Dowager's decree has been issued, and it is not so easy to change it. Xiao Jing was not as optimistic as Madame Jiang. Moreover, he did not want Madame Jiang to occupy the position of Madame of Marquis Xing anymore. For so many years, he had seen Madame Jiang's cruelty and viciousness, so he had long lost his patience with her. What do you mean, Marquis? Madame Jiang's face darkened, and she heard the wrong tone in Xiao Jing's words. I don't mean anything. The thing about Wang Xingxue will not be so easy to solve. How can the Empress Dowager be wrong? Even if she is really wrong, can she let others point at her and say that she is wrong? Unless... Xiao Jing stopped here. The Empress Dowager was noble. Even if she really did something wrong and Madame Jiang was wronged, so what? If the Empress Dowager did not give in, no one dared to help Madame Jiang. Unless what? Madame Jiang also understood Xiao Jing's meaning, and her face darkened. Unless Hua An's daughter-in-law goes to the imperial palace to complain to the Empress Dowager. Xiao Jing said lightly, but even so, you should be mentally prepared. I'm afraid that the position of the legal wife may not be settled. If you are right about this kind of thing, it is the Empress Dowager who is wrong. How could the Empress Dowager be wrong? Even if she was really wrong, it was the fault of others. It was a mouthful, but Madame Jiang understood that she had not been Madame of Duke Xing for so many years, so she naturally understood the twists and turns in it. She took a deep breath and looked at Xiao Jing seriously. I want the position of a co-wife, and you can't marry another legal wife. This is my last concession. She could not give in any more, or the position of the legitimate son would not be her son. If Xiao Jing gave birth to another legitimate son in the future, he might even be partial and transfer the position of the heir of Duke Xing to the new legitimate son. She could not take this risk, and it was also her last line. If Xiao Jing dared to disagree, she would fight with him to the death. She had been holding back these days, just to see how long Xiao Jing could hold back. If there was really no hope, she would not let Xiao Jing live an easy life. Looking at Madame Jiang's ferocious face, Xiao Jing's heart was filled with disgust, but he also knew that this was not the time to provoke Madame Jiang. He would kill her, but not now. Okay, I agree, but it is out of my control. I can only try to help you erase the crime and let the Wang family change their words. Xiao Jing said. That's the best. You don't have to worry about other things. I will find Hua An's daughter-in-law. Madame Jiang said confidently. She was the mother-in-law, so she had an innate advantage. If Zhao Shiran did not help her, she would let her son divorce this daughter-in-law. What was the use of a useless daughter-in-law? Chapter 1020. People in the capital city now liked to talk about Marquis Xing's mansion the most. Duke Xing's mansion made such a scene almost every few days. Originally, Duke Xing's mansion could be regarded as a big aristocratic family in the capital city and would not be casually discussed by ordinary people. But now, because it had become a marquis's mansion, it had done more unbearable or ridiculous things one after another. Not long ago, it was said that Marquis Xing's wife was demoted to a concubine, which had not been heard for many years. In just a few days, there was another rumor that Marquis Xing's wife was wronged, and it was Wang Xingxue, who was locked up in the Ministry of Justice. He casually blamed others in order to reduce his crime. As for the miscarriage of Marquis Xing's wife, it was not true. It was just a rumor. It was said that the virtuous daughter-in-law had gone to the palace to interrogate the Empress Dowager. This kind of annual drama added another wave of rumors to the ordinary people in the capital city. There were all kinds of rumors. In the end, they all concluded that the daughter-in-law was really a virtuous person. She still spoke up for her mother-in-law in such a case. No matter how they looked at it, the mother-in-law was not clean. In the midst of the different opinions, more people paid attention to the affairs of Marquis Xing's mansion. It was said that a group of idle people spontaneously gathered outside Marquis Xing's mansion to watch the fun of Marquis Xing's mansion. If the masters of Marquis Xing's mansion went out, they would be chased by a group of onlookers, which was very annoying. For a time, the gate of Marquis Xing's mansion was closed. Not to mention the masters, even the servants did not go out. It was better to stay in the mansion if it was not necessary. In the Empress Dowager's Palace of Benevolent Peace, the Empress was also there, and only Ruyan Great Elder Princess was there. What does the Empress Dowager say about this? The Empress Dowager had a headache. She was really annoyed by the repeated affairs of Marquis Xing's mansion. Mother, since it has come to this, let it be. The Empress Dowager said. Ruyan Great Elder Princess did not speak. When she entered the palace, her granddaughter had told her how to deal with it. At this time, she would wait and see what the two masters of the harem would say. It was not appropriate for her to say anything now, which would make people feel that her words were a little subjective. Even if she said it, it would not have any effect. It was the most appropriate to listen to their decision before speaking. Great Elder Ruyan had always been obedient to his granddaughter's words. Old Madam of Marquis Xing's mansion put down her pride, cried and begged at the gate of the palace, and then came in with her granddaughter-in-law to plead for Madam of Marquis Xing, which made her feel even worse. Didn't they value the title of Marquis Xing's mansion the most? You want to protect the Jiang family, right? Then show some sincerity. Now, Rui and Great Elder Princess didn't care whether Old Madam was partial or not. Since Old Madam was so partial, it was better not to have Old Madam. She was her granddaughter's only cherished elder, and the partial old woman was nothing. Rui and Great Elder Princess was very calm. She lowered her head and listened to the conversation between the two palaces, her fingers casually clasping the corner of her handkerchief. They have come to the front of the palace again. Although the people outside don't know, many people still know. Empress Dowager said unhappily. The common people didn't know how Old Madam of Marquis Xing's mansion brought Zhao Shiran to see the Empress Dowager, but the well-informed aristocratic families knew it. This kind of thing was a bit of a slap in the Empress Dowager's face. It was the Empress Dowager who issued the decree, and now it was naturally the Empress Dowager who asked to see the Empress Dowager. The purpose of arguing in front of the Empress Dowager was to ask her to take back the decree. The Empress Dowager's mother was gentle by nature. At this time, she couldn't help feeling a little angry. The people of Marquis Xing's mansion were really too presumptuous. They brought the lawsuit in front of her and implicitly reminded her that she was wrong. Mother, it has come to this. What else can we do? They didn't handle the affairs in their mansion well, and the evidence presented is not perfect. Can they blame the superior for not investigating clearly? The Empress added with a sneer. Since Xiao Yanru's matter came out, she had not liked Marquis Xing's mansion. At this time, she didn't intend to help Marquis Xing's mansion. They even refused to give face to the Empress Dowager, so they dared to refuse to give face to her. No wonder Xiao Yanru dared to plot against her in her palace at that time. She obviously wanted to humiliate her. The Empress Dowager turned to Rui and Great Elder Princess and frowned deeply. Rui and, what do you think? Rui and Great Elder Princess was very calm. Hearing the question, she raised her head and said calmly, everything is at your command, Empress Dowager and Empress. You are the elder of Princess Chen. You have to tell us what you think, or what Princess Chen thinks, right? The Empress Dowager said gently. Xiao Wanru was still ill. The medicinal materials in the palace were sent to her like flowing water. It was said that although she was a little better, her body was still weak. The Empress Dowager felt guilty. If her grandson came back at this time, he would not like to see this. When he left, her grandson told her again and again to take care of her daughter-in-law. It didn't take long for her to take care of her granddaughter-in-law, but her granddaughter-in-law became sick and weak. Empress Dowager, you are the elder of Princess Chen. With you, Princess Chen will not suffer any grievances. As long as you say, Princess Chen will definitely do as you say, Rui and Great Elder Princess said. Her words made Empress Dowager feel very comfortable in her heart. This granddaughter-in-law was also a worry-free person. After such a big thing happened and such a troublesome maiden family was involved, she did not complain at all, nor did she force her to agree to anything. Compared with what Marquis Xing's mansion did, she could not be mentioned in the same breath. If Princess Chen really made trouble, the Empress Dowager felt that she could understand. After all, Princess Chen was young, and there was no elder in the mansion now. Chu Luchen was not here. However, Princess Chen was so sensible that the Empress Dowager felt satisfied and guilty. Marquis Xing's mansion was really annoying. She had said so before, but now she said it again. If she didn't do anything, people would think that she, the Empress Dowager, would not change even if she was wrong. Was he forcing him to change the situation? Empress Dowager, you are the elder of Princess Chen, so you will take care of Princess Chen. No matter what, it is certain that Princess Chen has suffered grievances. You can't let people think that it is not true just because they keep saying it, right? The Empress said in a timely manner. She and the Empress Dowager had been mother-in-law and daughter-in-law for so many years, but at this time, she could still clearly understand the Empress Dowager's thoughts. Empress, do you think what happened before is true? The Empress Dowager was still hesitating. The rumors outside had just spread to the palace, and she asked the Emperor's servant to inquire about it. Empress Dowager, I think what happened before must be true. Otherwise, it is impossible for the man named Wang Xingxue to cooperate so well with the servant girl, wear the same clothes, and go to Princess Chen's courtyard. He is too vicious. He is just a royal descendant who has returned to the family, but he can't even tolerate a girl. The Empress said. There must be a reason for what happened 3 years ago. But now Wang Xingxue was dead, and there was no reason for it, so she couldn't get the reason even if she asked again. As for the current matter, it was not so important. The Empress Dowager and the Empress didn't care so much about what they did as the daughter-in-law of the Jiang family or old madam of Marquis Xing's mansion. They were originally a family. Since the family protected each other, they didn't have the energy to untie them. Whether Zhao Shiran was wronged or voluntary, they would not arouse their pity at all. This kind of thing, which was enough to make the Empress Dowager embarrassed, had happened. What else could the Empress Dowager say? The entire Marquis Xing's mansion disappointed the Empress Dowager. For the sake of the late heir of Duke Xing and the old Duke, the Empress Dowager had always thought highly of their mansion. Now this friendship had come to an end. When old madam of Marquis Xing's mansion left, the Empress Dowager specially told her not to enter the palace without an imperial edict in the future. Xiao Yuanhao is not young, is he? The Empress Dowager asked Rui, an great elder princess. Hao is already 10 years old. The teachers all say that Hao is smart. Although he entered the school a little late, he can understand things easily and draw inferences about other things from one instance. Even if he makes some mistakes, it doesn't matter. Now he has caught up with them and is even better than most of them. Speaking of her little grandson, Rui, an great elder princess's face was full of pride. Xiao Yuanhao's change was so great that she, as his maternal grandmother, was full of gratification. Sure enough, it was the best to bring Xiao Yuanhao to live here. Otherwise, such a smart little grandson would really be ruined. In the past 3 years, Rui, an great elder princess, didn't let Xiao Yuanhao have much contact with Marquis Xing's mansion. It was a rotten place and really not a good place. Even if he had to go there, he would be accompanied by the people chosen by Rui, an great elder princess. He would come back after a little salute. Sometimes, he would put his schoolwork first and didn't even have meals. He was not allowed to be close to Marquis Xing's mansion at all, so that he would not be plotted against by Marquis Xing's mansion. Looking at Rui, an great elder princess's look, she knew that she was really proud of her little grandson. It was completely different from 3 years ago when she lowered her head and cried when talking about this grandson. The Empress Dowager made a decision in her heart and said to the Empress, he is 10 years old. He should be able to inherit the title, right? The Empress Dowager nodded knowingly and said, of course he can continue to inherit the title. In the past, whenever someone submitted a petition, there were people who said that Xiao Yuanhao was a little young and they didn't know that he had made some progress. Although he was the descendant of the former heir of Duke Xing, he didn't make any progress, so he couldn't be compared with the famous first young master Xiao. Since Xiao Yuanhao has made some progress now, these reasons in the past are no longer reasons. Rui, write another petition and send it to the emperor. The Empress Dowager said. Yes, thank you, Empress Dowager. Rui, an great elder princess, immediately understood what the Empress Dowager meant. She stood up and knelt down. With her eyes slightly red and her voice choked, she respectfully kowtowed to the Empress Dowager 3 times. It was not that she cared about the title, but that the title originally belonged to her son-in-law. Why did it fall into the hands of the second branch of Marquis Xing's mansion? All the members of the second branch had bad intentions. Empress, since the emperor has issued a decree, you can also issue a decree to let Jiang be the co-wife. The Empress Dowager rubbed her aching eyebrows and said. Then, what's the reason? The Empress Dowager asked carefully. Chapter 1021. Even the royal family needed a reason to change from a legal wife to a concubine and from a concubine to a co-wife. Just say that her daughter-in-law is filial and everyone in the mansion loves her and is willing to explain and take responsibility for her. The Empress Dowager waved her hand and said impatiently. She was now the Empress Dowager and should have enjoyed a happy life early. But now she worked hard and even lost face for the matter of Marquis Xing's mansion. How could she like her? Yes, I understand. The Empress nodded. Of course, the Empress Dowager was right. Even if she was wrong, she couldn't say it clearly. The title of nobility fell to Xiao Yuanhao, which was the compensation of Marquis Xing's mansion. In addition, the decree said that everyone in Marquis Xing's mansion loved the Jiang family and was willing to explain and take responsibility for her. It sounded like the Jiang family was wrong, but Marquis Xing's mansion was willing to give up the title of nobility and other people in the mansion were willing to take responsibility. With the emperor's decree, the empress's decree was reasonable, and the Empress Dowager would not be wrong. It was reasonable and could also explain that the Jiang family was demoted from a legal wife to a concubine and was promoted to a co-wife because Marquis Xing's mansion gave up the title of nobility. Since everyone in Marquis Xing's mansion was willing to take responsibility for all this, the Jiang family's matter could be considered settled. With such a decree, the Empress could foresee that the Jiang family would have a hard time in Marquis Xing's mansion. They had secretly fought for the title of heir for 10 years. Now the title of nobility was given to Xiao Yuanhao for the sake of the Jiang family. The Empress Dowager made the decision very quickly. On the same day, Great Elder Princess's memorial was sent to the emperor. Coincidentally, the emperor and several important ministers were discussing in the imperial study. After reading Great Elder Princess's memorial, the empress also sent a memorial. The eunuch found the memorial Xiao Jing had sent before, asking for the title of heir. After comparing several memorials, Xiao Yuanhao's title of heir was decided directly. The emperor sent someone to deliver the decree. When everyone in Marquis Xing's mansion received the decree, they were still at a loss and didn't know what had happened. The Jiang family's matter was the matter of the inner court. Even if there was a decree, shouldn't it be the decree of the Empress Dowager and the Empress? What did the emperor's decree mean? Old Madam received the imperial edict with trepidation. After the eunuch read the imperial edict, she was completely stunned. She knelt there and only felt that her ears were exploding. She stretched out her trembling hands and said with a pale face, Duke. Duke, are you telling the truth? Congratulations, old madam, you finally have an heir in your mansion. The eunuch said with a smile. There hasn't been a decree for so many years. Why is there a decree all of a sudden? Xiao Jing asked calmly. Isn't this the pass? This servant does not know the specifics. If the Marquis wishes to know, you can directly enter the palace to see the emperor. The eunuch smiled. Xiao Yuanhao is not here. I'm afraid the decree. Xiao Jing said awkwardly. The decree was given to Xiao Yuanhao, so the person who would receive the decree was certainly Xiao Yuanhao. If Xiao Yuanhao was not here, the decree could not be accepted. According to Rui, and Great Elder Princess, the heir of Duke 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 of Xiao Jing was so angry that he wanted to vomit blood. The position of heir had fallen into Xiao Yuan's hands. Xiao Yuanhao could still not return to the mansion. Even if he wanted to do something, he could not get past Great Elder Princess. Old madam, wake up. The servant girls and old maids suddenly screamed. Xiao Jing hurriedly turned his head and saw that old madam had fainted on the ground. Marquis, my decree has been delivered. I will go back to the palace now. The eunuch looked at Marquis Xing's mansion, which was in a mess, and said with a smile. "Thank you, eunuch." Xiao Jing was full of anxiety, but he could not show it on his face. He asked someone to take out a pouch and sent it to the eunuch who delivered the decree. "Nanny, you took the medicine and fed it to old madam." Old madam's face was a little better. When she woke up and saw Xiao Jing, she burst into tears. "Second brother, this is..." "Mother, please be careful with your words." Xiao Jing's face changed slightly. He immediately interrupted old madam and said seriously, "This is a happy event. Mother, you should be happy. You are not in good health. I will help you to have a rest." There were many people in the hall, so it was not a good time to talk. Old madam came to her senses and knew that she had lost her manners. She held Nanny Yu's hand and slowly got up. When she just got up, she suddenly saw the old butler running in. "Marquis, old madam, the empress sent someone to deliver the decree." Xiao Jing and old madam were stunned. Xiao Jing reacted quickly and said, "Invite him in." The eunuch sent by the empress also came in with a smile. Everyone knelt down. This time, they actually wanted to see Madame of Jiang. The servants hurriedly went to the backyard to help Madame of Jiang out and then knelt down with her. After the decree was announced, everyone thanked the empress and the servants of the empress politely sent them away. Both of the two decrees seemed to be happy events. Marquis Xing's mansion seemed to have two more happy events. But both of them were heartbreaking for old madam. She was so uncomfortable that she could hardly speak. She stood up with Nanny Yu's help and saw Madame of Jiang's happy face. She felt like a big stone in her heart had fallen to the ground. She was so angry that she slapped Madame of Jiang's smiling face hard. Madame of Jiang took 2 steps back and fell heavily to the ground. "You are a jinx. You still have the face to smile. If it weren't for you, if it weren't for you." Old Madame was so angry that she couldn't even speak. She pointed at Madame of Jiang with trembling fingers. She regretted that she had listened to Zhao Shiran and her second son and thought that Madame of Jiang's affairs were promising. She thought that if Madame of Jiang became a concubine, her eldest grandson would have no hope to be the heir. That was why she went to the palace to see the Empress Dowager. Now that the heir had fallen to Xiao Yuanhao, it was a drastic measure. It was useless for Madame of Jiang to become a second wife. "You are a jinx. When I raised you in the mansion, I should have strangled you with a rope, so that you would not be a wastrel now." Old Madame hated Madame of Jiang so much that she gnashed her teeth. The mother-in-law and daughter-in-law got along well with each other at that time, and now they hated each other as much as they hated each other. Madame of Jiang was stunned and didn't react for a moment. Seeing old Madame stomping her feet and gnashing her teeth and scolding her, she also got angry. She had always been the Madame of Marquis Xing, and she had been a good one before. If old Madame hadn't sent her to the Yuhui nunnery, there wouldn't have been so many troubles. It was fine that old Madame didn't blame herself, but she even blamed her and said that she was the jinx of her family and what she had done in the past was all the old woman's idea. Old Madame's words are so unreasonable. "What I have done is all your idea, isn't it? Why do you blame me now? You even blame me for being a jinx. If I am a jinx, it is because of my mother-in-law. If my mother-in-law hadn't insisted that the Marquis marry me, I wouldn't have married into the Marquis's mansion." Madame of Jiang retorted sarcastically. "Rebellious, you're rebellious." Old Madame was so angry that she rushed over and was about to lose control and trample on Madame Jiang. Nanny Yu hurriedly stopped her. If she really rushed over, she would not look like a noble Madame Dowager, but worse than a shrew in the market. "Someone, send Jiang Shi back," Xiao Jing ordered sternly. The veins on his forehead bulged when he saw the messy scene. 2 old maids came over and pulled Madame Jiang up and brought her inside. It was not a good thing to stay here. If she stayed any longer, there would be a big mess. "Mother, let's go back and talk." Xiao Jing comforted old Madame and reached out to help her walk back. This jinx. It seemed that old madam could only say this sentence at the moment. The more she said, the more uncomfortable she felt, and her eyes turned red. The Jiang family, the Jinx, was really recruited by her. How blind she was at that time. How could she regard the Jinx as a good person? Now the title of heir of Duke 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 of. When she sat down in her room, old madam came to her senses a little. She grabbed her son's hand and asked anxiously, "What should we do? What should we do now?" Nanny Yu waved her hand and left with a group of servants. Then she stood guard at the door. From the current situation, it was obvious that the mother and son had something to say. "Mother, this is all we can do for now," Xiao Jing said through clenched teeth. Of course, he was not willing to give up. He had worked so hard to obtain the title of nobility, but he had lost it just like that. This was something he had not expected. Everything had happened so suddenly that he was still a little dizzy. How did this happen? Let's do this first, but Huan is. Madame Dowager was so anxious that she blurted out. "Mother, be careful with your words. The title of heir of Crown Prince will belong to Hao, in the future. You can't talk nonsense." Xiao Jing interrupted Madame Dowager, who was at a loss. But if this title belongs to Hao, how can he be close to us now? In the end, the title will be controlled by Great Elder Princess. Madame Dowager said in a panic. "Mother, take your time and see. The title will be decided by the person who will be the heir in the end. Hao is still young." Xiao Jing gritted his teeth and lowered his voice. The fight for the throne was just around the corner. The inheritance of the title depended on the future emperor. This was actually the most helpless idea. They could only look forward to the future. There was still a lot to be gained in the future, right? Yes, there is a new one, and Madame Dowager nodded repeatedly. She relaxed her hand a little and muttered to herself, support her at all costs. As long as she can occupy a position in the future, I will do whatever it takes. How about the Jiang family now? Madame Dowager now wanted to lock up the Jiang family forever. It would be better if she died. It was the Jiang family who exchanged the title of nobility for the Jiang family's second wife. How dare she laugh? Chapter 1022. Just let her live in the original courtyard. She doesn't have to care about the affairs in the mansion. Just let her be locked up like this until she dies. Xiao Jing gritted his teeth and said with hatred. How could he not hate her? He had snatched the title of nobility, but lost it in the hands of his son. It was all because of the Jiang family. But now, he couldn't do anything to the Jiang family, so he could only keep her company. The Jiang family had something on him, but he would not let her see anyone. This time, he had steeled his heart to let Jiang Shi die in the position of a second wife. When Xiao Wanru's letter was delivered, Chu Luqian had just arrived at the border and was welcomed into the city adjacent to the Su kingdom. After reading Xiao Wanru's letter, Chu Luqian put down the letter in his hand in a good mood. With a smile on his handsome lips, he lazily folded the letter in his hand and put it in his sleeve. Lord Qin, are you going to go out today or tomorrow? Since everything is ready, let's not delay it. Let's go today. Qin Huayong said and looked at Chu Liuqian's sleeve. He remembered that Chu Liuqian's face was not so good just now. This letter came in time and made Chu Luqian look kind. Was it a letter from Princess Chen? Lord Qin. Chu Qing was a little anxious. He didn't think it was a good thing to go there in a hurry. He still had to make some preparations. Chu Luqian ignored him and said to the garrison standing aside, since Ningyuan army general has agreed, it's good. Get ready and let Lord Qin and Commandery Prince Qin go there. Originally, the garrison was the highest official here. After Chu Luchen and the others came, his position plummeted, and now Chu Luchen was in charge of the affairs here. Since the matter had been decided, Chu Qing knew that it was useless for him to object, so he could only nod and go to prepare with Qin Huayong. Since they had already prepared for this, the two of them did not have much time to prepare before they had already gathered their men. Chu Luchen personally sent them to the city gate. The moat bridge was lowered, and a group of people and horses went out of the city. Then the moat bridge was pulled up again. Su Kingdom, who had received the news, also sent people over. Chu Luchen sat on the tower and looked down. He saw a woman among the couple of people from Su Kingdom. Judging from her gorgeous dress, he knew she should be the princess of Su Kingdom. Is the princess of the Su Kingdom really going to marry into our family? Chu Luchen raised his eyebrows and asked as he was a little far away and couldn't see her face clearly. That's what they said. Originally, there was no such thing. Later, when they heard that the two princes were coming together, they sent a messenger over, saying that they wanted the princess to marry one of the two princes. The guard said carefully. After he got the news, he immediately sent it to Chu Luchen. There were two princes, and one of them was Prince Chen, whom the emperor valued the most. It was not something that he, a small garrison, could make the decision. Are you here to take a look? Chu Luchen said leisurely. Now he was sitting behind the city wall. Even though the chair was very wide and the tall battlement was exposed, it was only his head. Just as he couldn't see the appearance of the princess of Su Kingdom clearly, the princess of Su Kingdom definitely couldn't see his appearance clearly either. Therefore, he came here to take a look at Chu Qing. Chu Qing was good-looking. Although he was not as outstanding as his cousins, he was naturally very good-looking compared with others. It seems to be a good idea to keep Chu Qing as the son-in-law of the Su Kingdom. Chu Luchen thought very irresponsibly. Maybe. Princess Yutao is also very famous in the Su Kingdom. The guard lowered his head, and his forehead was covered with sweat. Oh, how is it a famous way? Chu Luchen said with interest. He looked over and found that the two groups of people had already met. It seemed that Princess Yutao had said a few words to Chu Qing. It could be seen that she had a good impression of Chu Qing. She is extremely beautiful, but also very shrewish. Many men in the Su Kingdom are no match for her, so she has never found a suitable husband in the Su Kingdom. The guard said. The two countries crossed the border. From time to time, the reputation of Princess Yutao would be heard from people who came to do business from the Su Kingdom. This princess was not a person to be trifled with, and she was the eldest legitimate daughter of the Empress of the Su Kingdom. Her identity was even more distinguished. Such a child was also worried about getting married, so he turned his attention to the neighboring country. Good princess, good, really good. Commandery Prince Qing really needs such a princess. Chu Luchen said casually. Looking at the two groups of people walking away together, he stood up, patted his sleeves, and said leisurely and contentedly, Garrison, just stay here and wait. If there is any news, it shouldn't take too long. Yes, I understand. The guard hurriedly said. I'm going to go down for a walk. Chu Luchen said casually, you don't have to follow me. I'm just going to walk around. As he said, he went down the city wall with Xiao Xuanzi. Chu Luchen, who had changed into ordinary clothes, now looked like an ordinary handsome young man. This was the border between the Su Kingdom and the Dongsan Kingdom. The two countries were relatively peaceful now, and the businessmen were the most profitable. Therefore, this area was particularly prosperous. Not only the goods of the Dongsan Kingdom could be seen, but also some goods of the Su Kingdom. The businessmen of the Su Kingdom lived here, so they were used to it. However, when Chu Luchen appeared here, it immediately caused a big wave. Such a big wave was mostly from the girls. The Su Kingdom had fewer rules than the Dongsan Kingdom. Many girls couldn't help but come up to talk to their beloved Lang Jun. This was the border of the Dongsan Kingdom, so the girls in the neighboring countries were much more enthusiastic than those in the capital city. Along the way, all the girls who saw Chu Luchen swarmed over. They had never seen such a handsome man before. Chu Luchen had a good temper today. He didn't get angry. He just ignored the large group of girls behind him. As for those who came up to talk to him, they were all taken away by Xiao Xuanzi. It was rare for His Highness to have such an interest in shopping. Xiao Xuanzi didn't want His Highness to be disturbed. After winking at several guards who followed him secretly, the girls were stopped by the guards and moved further away from Chu Luchen. It was not convenient for them to talk to him anymore. Along the way, Xiao Xuanzi had more and more things in his hands. At first, there were only one or two things, but in the end, there were so many things that he was almost covered with, like a shelf of goods. Seeing this, the young ladies and young wives became more and more interested. "Sir, let's go back. There are so many things. If we buy more, I can't take them all." Xiao Xuanzi's face became gloomy. How many things were there, and these things were obviously little things to please the princess. They were obviously the little things that His Highness used to please the princess. However, there were too many. Maybe there are better things in front. Chu Luchen looked back at Xiao Xuanzi and was also happy. "Sir, let's buy more next time and bring more people next time. Look, the people on this street are all attracted by you," Xiao Xuanzi said with a bitter face. He tried hard to move his chin and pointed back. It was just that the road was almost blocked. There were so many girls following him all the way. He was not shy to follow them all the way. "Okay, next time then." Chu Luchen finally gave in reluctantly, turned around and walked back. Seeing him coming, a large group of girls and wives behind him hurriedly stepped aside and automatically made way for him. They looked at Chu Luchen with admiration. When he was in the capital city, no one dared to look at Chu Luchen openly. Of course, Prince Chen, who had been well protected, had no chance to go shopping alone in ordinary clothes. At this time, it was the custom to be bold. Chu Luchen dressed up as an ordinary person. Even though he looked like a rich child, all the merchants in the mansion looked like rich childs. Fortunately, the guards in the dark were very helpful and made some small trouble from time to time. Finally, there were fewer and fewer people following Prince Chen. In the end, no one followed him. Xiao Xuanzi secretly breathed a sigh of relief. He was really worried. In this kind of place, the people were wild. If something really happened, he, Xiao Xuanzi, could not handle it at all. Back to the garrison mansion, Chu Luchen now lived in the garrison mansion. As for the original family members in the garrison mansion, they had hidden out. This place was Prince Chen's temporary residence. These days, Chu Luchen lived here and waited for Qin Huayong and Chu Qing to come back. Xiao Xuanzi put down all the things and asked people to pack them up. After sorting them out, he returned to the main room. Sure enough, in the main room, His Highness was reading the letter again in a very good mood. Xiao Xuanzi stood behind him, stretched his neck and tiptoed to take a peek. However, when he saw Chu Liuchen's cold eyes, he hurriedly lowered his head and pretended to be a quail. I don't know how many times I have read this letter. The more he read it, the better his mood became. It was also because of this letter that he was not annoyed when others stared at him just now. Otherwise, with his temper, how could he really let others stare at him so casually? Princess Chen is so powerful. She can even stop me, who is so stubborn. Prepare the pen and ink. I'm going to write to Imperial Grandmother. Chu Luchen read the letter with satisfaction again, put it away, and then said slowly. Didn't you just write to the Empress Dowager a few days ago? Xiao Xuanzi asked in surprise. A few days ago is a few days ago, and now is now. Princess is now alone and helpless in the capital city. I have to ask Imperial Grandmother to take care of her. Chu Luchen touched his chin and said lazily, I've always been gentle. Don't do bloody things. At most, I'll lose a leg. Recently, the imperial court is very lively. Let's wait and see. Xiao Xuanzi shivered all over. Did he think that his master was talking about Princess Chen? When did Princess Chen become so pitiful? Princess Chen, who could even subdue his master, obviously couldn't be so pitiful. He also read Qing Er's letter. Princess Chen did it very calmly. There was no need for him to meddle, right? Of course, he didn't dare to say this. His master was worried about Princess Chen in the mansion. As a eunuch, he naturally couldn't understand it. This should be the fun that his master talked about, right? However, he was originally a eunuch. It would be strange if he could understand. Xiao Xuanzi felt that he was hit. He turned his head and prepared the pen and ink with a sad face. His master was afraid that Princess Chen would suffer losses and wanted to support her. He understood. As for the arm or leg, Xiao Xuanzi didn't care much. This kind of thing was really gentle, and there was no blood. Chapter 1023. No one had expected that Marquis Xing's mansion would cause such a great disturbance and even shake the entire imperial court. The matter of determining the heir of Marquis Xing's mansion was confirmed very quickly, which was something that no one had expected before. They all thought that the heir of Marquis Xing's mansion could be fought for a few more years. After all, this matter had been going on since Xiao Yuanhao was born, and many people had a wait-and-see attitude. It seemed that no matter from which aspect, it was reasonable to decide who would be the heir of Marquis Xing's heir in the end. Xiao Yuanhao was the son of the former heir of Duke Xing. If the former heir of Duke Xing was still alive, he would undoubtedly be the heir of Duke Xing, no matter how young he was. But the problem was that Xiao Jiang had not become Duke Xing's heir, so how could he pass it on to his son? Xiao Huan, on the other hand, was suitable in all aspects. The most important thing was that Xiao Jing was Marquis Xing at present and had just taken the position of Marquis Xing. The most important thing about this matter was that many courtiers were watching in secret. Although they didn't say it out loud, they all knew that this matter was another reflection of the throne. The current emperor did not get the throne in a proper way, and there were many bad rumors among the people. It was true that he did not let the former emperor down by raising his nephew as his own son, but in this way, his nephew was also the heir of the throne. In terms of legitimacy, Chu Luqian, the former emperor's legitimate son, had more right of succession than Prince Shou. Since Xiao Yuanhao could be the heir of Duke Xing's mansion, what about Prince Chen? Was His Majesty trying to express something? But it was not possible. No matter how close a nephew was, could he be closer to a son? However, judging from the emperor's attitude towards the princes in the past, she really felt that the emperor was closer to Prince Chen. Could it be that the emperor intended to return the throne to Prince Chen, so he wanted Xiao Yuanhao to be the heir of Marquis Xing's mansion? The next day, there was a quarrel in the imperial court about whether Xiao Yuanhao should be the heir of Marquis Xing's mansion. Many courtiers stood up and said that this matter should not be passed on to the son. How could a nephew be the heir of Marquis Xing's mansion? What should Xiao Huan, the first young master of Marquis Xing's mansion, who had always been famous for his talent? What kind of logic was it for a father to pass the position of heir to his nephew instead of passing it on to him? There were also a lot of people on the other side. They all claimed that Xiao Jing's position belonged to Xiao Jiang, the former heir of Duke Xing. If Xiao Jiang had not died early, this Shi Yuan would have been his legitimate son, and it would not have been the second branch's turn. The emperor's decree was very reasonable. The two of them refused to give in to each other and gave many examples, even some old examples from the previous dynasty. However, they just avoided the current emperor and had Prince Chen. However, anyone with a discerning eye could tell that this implied the emperor and Prince Chen. If it weren't for these two, why would they quarrel so fiercely over the position of the heir of the crown prince? The courtiers were not so free to pay attention to the family affairs of Marquis Xing's mansion. They were discussing this family's matter as a matter of state. There were also a few officials who were in the middle, neither saying yes nor no. Among them, the two prime ministers were the leaders. The two prime ministers stood in front of their respective ranks, their eyes looking down at their noses looking down at their mouths. It was not clear what they were thinking. They did not say a single word, neither did they move. They glanced at each other. The emperor sat on the high dragon chair with an extremely ugly face. He pressed his hand heavily on the dragon head of the chair, and his face was as gloomy as still water. Another censor stood up, bowed to the emperor and said, "Your Majesty, I don't think this should be done. Since the heir of Duke Xing has died, there is no reason for this position to be passed on to the first branch. Both the first branch and the second branch are the descendants of the late duke. Since the first branch has died, does it mean that the second branch has no chance? Now Xiao Yuanhao is just a little boy who knows nothing. How can he compare with the first young master of Marquis Xing's mansion, who has always had a good reputation? Your Majesty, this is unfair to the first young master Xiao. Please take back your decree." "Take back?" the emperor said coldly, sitting on the dragon chair, and looked at the censor with confusion. "Yes, Your Majesty, please take back your decree. In any case, the position of the heir of the crown prince belongs to the first young master Xiao." The censor thought that the emperor agreed with his words, so he immediately nodded and said, "In any case?" the emperor said coldly. Suddenly, he flew into a rage, patted the dragon head heavily, and suddenly stood up. The officials who were about to make statements were startled and hurriedly shut their mouths. "It's not your turn to comment on the affairs of Marquis Xing's mansion. The position of the heir of the crown prince has been passed on to the first branch. You can't stand it anymore, so you must fight for the second branch." Okay, I will tell you today. Durong, tell us why the position of the heir of the crown prince has fallen into Xiao Yuanhao's hands." "Yes, I know." Durong hurriedly stood up, and then said to the officials below with a cold face, "Your Excellencies, don't quarrel. Marquis Xing loves his wife, so he took the initiative to make a concession in order to let his wife recover the position of co-wife. If you don't believe it, you can go to Marquis Xing by yourself." Even Marquis Xing didn't say anything. Other people were just worrying about it. It had nothing to do with them. The emperor's meaning was obvious. Hearing Durong's words, everyone found that Marquis Xing, Xiao Jing, was not present at the court today. They quarreled so fiercely that they forgot that he was not present. If it was really because of this reason, there was really nothing to quarrel about. Xiao Jing himself thought so there was no need for others to quarrel. For a moment, the court became strangely quiet. "Your Excellencies, if you don't find out the truth and quarrel like this in the future, you don't need to be an official anymore," the emperor said coldly. He flicked his sleeves, turned around, and left, leaving the confused officials in the hall. "Prime Minister Wen, Prime Minister Zhang, what the hell is going on?" Seeing this situation, a smart official hurriedly bowed to the two prime ministers and asked in a low voice. At this time, shouldn't Xiao Jing come to the court to complain about his grievances? Could it really be because of the affair between Marquis Xing's wife, Jiang? Xiao Jing seemed to have a good character in the past, but he shouldn't take the initiative to give up the position of the heir of the crown prince for a woman who had caused a stir in the city. That didn't make sense. And it was even more unreasonable that he didn't come to the court today. Marquis Xing is ill and has asked for leave these days. If you are on good terms with him, you can go to Marquis Xing's mansion. Watch him. Prime Minister Zhang said lightly. Prime Minister Wen smiled slightly and didn't say anything. He turned around and walked down the hall. Prime Minister Zhang, is Marquis Xing really ill? Another official asked. Prime Minister Zhang smiled slightly and didn't answer this time. He turned around and followed Prime Minister Wen out of the hall. This matter was just a family affair of Marquis Xing's mansion. It was not a big deal. It was enough to talk about it in the imperial study at ordinary times. There was no need to make such a big fuss in the court. It was good that everyone knew this kind of thing in their hearts. At present, it seemed that the emperor had thought of something else. How could the emperor not be angry? The thin veil was torn by the officials with the affair of the heir of Marquis Xing's mansion. The two prime ministers didn't know whether it was a blessing or a curse. At present, they could only deal with the changes by remaining unchanged and wait and see. Prince Chen. Prince Chen. Prince Chen, is the emperor angry? The empress put down the teacup in her hand and looked terrible. That's what I heard. The old maid reported carefully. The empress waved her hand with a sullen face. The old maid calmed down and only she, Prince Zhou and his mother were left in the hall. Mother, so what if my father is angry? Prince Zhou didn't understand why the empress's face was so terrible. After the old maid left, he asked. The position of the heir of Marquis Xing is so similar to yours. The empress gently wiped the corner of her mouth with a handkerchief and said, no one talked about it in the past, and your father didn't care. Now so many people talk about it and talk about the affair of Marquis Xing's mansion. They are obviously implying your father. Although your father knew something in the past, he was not targeted so openly. So what? It has nothing to do with Chu Luchen. He is just a nephew. My father won't pass it to him. Moreover, he is an upright person. Prince Zhou said disdainfully. Even so, it is difficult for me to guess your father's mind. The empress said in a low voice. Her eyes became darker and darker. It seemed that she wanted to say something, but she closed her mouth. There were some things that she didn't know whether to tell her son or not. No matter how difficult it is for my father to guess, he won't be evil. Prince Zhou said calmly, Chu Luiyue is more troublesome. Now he is going to marry Prime Minister Zhang's daughter. I heard that Prime Minister Zhang's daughter is very good. His son is not very promising, but this woman is very attentive. If he helps Chu Luiyue, it will be a big trouble. Chu Liuzhou had always regarded Chu Luiyue as his opponent, but he still focused on him at this time. The emperor trusted the two prime ministers of the imperial court very much. Prime Minister Wen had no daughter. If Prime Minister Zhang's daughter married Chu Luiyue, it would be a good marriage for Chu Luiyue. On the contrary, although Chu Liuzhou married Infanta Yuan Pen, who had a good reputation and status, the real benefits were not as good as marrying Prime Minister Zhang's daughter. For this reason, Chu Liuzhou would not rest assured about this matter. It's indeed a good thing for Prince Yu if Prime Minister Zhang's daughter marries Prince Yu. If Prince Yu is closely related to Prime Minister Zhang, the two families will definitely cooperate. Now, there is another opportunity. The empress frowned. She was more thoughtful than Chu Liuzhou. In fact, she wanted to choose Prime Minister Zhang's daughter, but she was reprimanded by the emperor. She said that Infanta Yuan An's identity was more noble, which was more in line with Chu Liuzhou's identity. However, these granddaughters of great elder princess only had a noble title. How could they be compared with the current prime minister with real power? Of course, she couldn't tell this to the emperor. In the end, the empress could only accept the marriage with grievance. Although she didn't like Infanta Yuan An very much, at least she was excellent in other aspects. However, at present, because of the trouble between Infanta Yuan An and Xiao Wanru, the empress doubted whether she could really be Princess Zhou. After all, Chu Yuanan couldn't compare with Zhang Qilan. In fact, they were all people who fished for fame. Xiao Yanru was like this, and now Infanta Yuan An also seemed to be like this. Come on, prepare a congratulatory gift and send it to Rui, an great elder princess's mansion to congratulate Xiao Yuanhao on the position of heir of duke. The empress made a decision in her heart. Mother, didn't you think highly of Marquis Xing before? Now why? Prince Zhou asked in surprise. The empress's move was equivalent to standing on the side of the first branch of Marquis Xing's mansion, which was clearly opposite to their position. End of this chapter. Chapter 1024. Remember in 1 second, 800 mail sign small / say net wonderful pop-up window free reading. The past is the past, and the present is the present. The past can never be the present, and the present can never remain the same. The empress stood up, walked into the inner hall, and took out a box. Looking at the palm-sized box, she sighed and pushed the box in front of Chu Liuzhou. Mother, what is this? Chu Liuzhou didn't understand the empress's sigh. He looked at the extremely inconspicuous box in front of him and asked in surprise. If he hadn't seen the Empress take out this box, he wouldn't have believed that this box belonged to the Empress. Such a simple box that was completely different from what Prince of Zhou had seen in the past really didn't seem to belong to the palace. This was sent by Prince Cheng a long time ago. The Empress leaned back with a gloomy look in her eyes. Why did Imperial Uncle Ji send this box to Imperial Mother? Zhou Wang became more and more surprised. He reached out and took the box. There was a key hanging on it. He pressed it slightly and the box opened. There was an old bottle inside. It was a very ordinary bottle, very simple. What is this? Zhou Wang stretched out his hand. Don't move. Her Majesty scolded in a low voice. Zhou Wang's hand stopped in front of the bottle and he raised his head. Imperial Mother, the medicine in this bottle is poisoned. The Empress said with a gloomy face. Zhou Wang was shocked. He dropped his hand and looked at the bottle in front of him in shock. After carefully observing it for a while, he said, "This bottle looks very old." The bottle was so old that it didn't look like it had been around for a few years. Zhou Wang's gaze landed on the box in front of him. Not only did the box look ordinary, but it also looked old. It was at least 10 years old. It's a bottle from more than 10 years ago. The Empress's face was a little cold, and her eyes were getting colder. Mother. Prince Zhou looked at the Empress in surprise. The Empress took a deep breath and closed the box. Then she wiped her hands with a handkerchief, as if she had been stained with something. This is poison. It's the poison that was given to Chu Luqian, the invalid, was congenitally deficient because of this. The Empress said. Zhou Wang stood up abruptly and looked at the bottle in front of him in shock. His expression changed drastically. Isn't his body supposed to be congenitally deficient? Is it because she was born early that she was congenitally deficient, causing her body to be weak and sickly? There are some who are weak and sickly, and some who are born with congenital deficiencies. Some of these poisons enter the body of the baby through the mother's body. Although it's not very powerful, it's more likely to be born with congenital deficiencies than being directly injected into the baby's body. The Empress looked at the box quietly. This was given to me by King Cheng. What does Uncle Wang mean? Prince Zhou thought for a moment and became furious. He slammed his hand on the edge of the table. He's warning me and hinting at me. The Empress sighed. Her eyes were still on the old box. Actually, this bottle is not a big deal. This poison is not powerful. It's really not powerful. When the Empress said this, she seemed to be talking to herself. Her eyes fell on the box as if there was something tangled in it. Her face turned from gloomy to angry. If it wasn't for her, I wouldn't have ended up like this. She asked for it, she was willing to be a lowly woman. Mother, what are you talking about? Prince Zhou looked at the Empress, who was a little crazy in confusion. She asked for it herself. I did it for your father, but your father let me down. This is a mixed poison. There is only one kind of it, so it's not powerful. Besides, there is an ordinary food, which can make this poison mix into the baby's body. It seems that the baby is born with congenital deficiencies. The Empress didn't seem to hear Prince Zhou's words. Her eyes were fierce and vicious. Mother. Prince Zhou raised his voice a little. The Empress raised her head and looked at Prince Zhou. She seemed to wake up from the crazy mood just now. She carefully looked at Prince Zhou's face and said slowly after a long time, "Take this box away and put it in your mansion. It's my weakness, but it's also Prince Cheng's. If Prince Cheng revealed this thing at that time, it would only be his weakness. But now that Prince Cheng had hidden this thing for so many years, he had a part in it. Mother, the late emperor has passed away and the late empress is gone. Even if someone knows it, so what? Will my father help them?" Prince Zhou was confused and became more and more surprised. In fact, this thing was not a weakness, was it? How Chu Luqian got sick had nothing to do with them. Would my father really stand up for Chu Luqian for the sake of my mother? Your father will. The empress said coldly and pointed in a direction. There is the sister of the late empress over there. With her, your father will definitely remember the good of that woman and the child born by that woman. Who is it? Prince Zhou looked in that direction and frowned. He really didn't know this kind of thing before. Why had he never heard that the late empress had a sister in the palace? Concubine Lan. The empress said. Is it Concubine Lan? Prince Zhou was surprised at first and then he understood. How could he not know the situation of Concubine Lan in the palace? She was a concubine who was grounded but didn't seem to lose her power. Even his mother couldn't see her, so it was impossible for him to control her as the empress. It seemed that the empress was protecting her by grounding her. Although his father didn't go there for a long time, he would go there occasionally. For so many years, it seemed that Concubine Lan had always been there, but she didn't appear. As for the rumor that Concubine Lan was the sister of the late empress, he had heard it before. But that was when he was young. Concubine Lan hadn't appeared in front of people for so many years. Who would talk about a concubine who had been out of favor for so many years and had no children? Grounded? Only my feet are grounded. It's very easy for Concubine Lan to come out. Even Concubine Lan has sent people to Prince Chen several times. The empress said. Mother, you don't have to say anything. I know what I'm doing. Take this box away. It's safer for you to stay in your mansion. I'm afraid that your father will find out about it one day. The empress waved her hand decisively, interrupted Friday, and said with a sneer, as for Prince Cheng, you can contact him secretly. Prince Cheng may be ambitious, but how can he win the throne? If Prince Cheng was really capable, he wouldn't have kept it a secret for so many years until the princes had grown up. Of course, the empress wouldn't really underestimate Prince Cheng. Prince Cheng, who had been preparing for so many years, must have some means. If she could pull Prince Cheng to her side, her son's throne would be in the bag. This was also an important reason why the empress took out such an old box. She really wanted to tie Prince Cheng to her son, but it was very difficult. For so many years, the two sides had been in a situation where neither of them would say anything. Is it because of the horse again? Xiao Wanru put down the handkerchief in her hand and said in surprise. Yes, they suddenly collided with the carriage of the first young master and Infanta Yuanpen. Yu Jie reported, I heard that it was the first young master who crashed into it. He fell off the horse and broke his leg. Commandery Princess Yuanpen is fine, but I heard that her face is also covered with blood. I'm afraid, her face was hurt. Xiao Wanru understood what she meant as soon as she heard it. I heard that her face was hurt. Ruiping Great Elder Princess invited several imperial physicians to her mansion. Yu Jie said. What a coincidence. Xiao Wanru had to sigh. Both Xiao Hua and Infanta Yuan were at odds with her. At this time, Xiao Hua N's leg was broken, which made Marquis Xing's mansion even more speechless. With Xiao Hua N's time to recover, Brother Hao's position as the heir of Marquis Xing was stable. Prepare the carriage to go to Marquis Xing's mansion. After thinking for a while, Xiao Wanru stood up and gave an order. Your Highness, didn't you say that you wouldn't go to Marquis Xing's mansion? Yu Jie was afraid that Xiao Wanru would get into trouble again, so she said in a hurry. That was before, and now it is now. Anyway, Xiao Hua is my eldest cousin brother now. How can I not go to see him when he got into trouble? Xiao Wanru said. At this time, she not only wanted to go to see him, but also wanted to see him as soon as she got the news. Since such a big thing had happened, even if she didn't know about it, Marquis Xing's mansion would send someone to tell her. After all, it was not just an ordinary collision, and there would be a lawsuit in it. Xiao Hua seemed to be seriously injured and his leg was broken, but if Infanta Yuan An's face was really hurt, it would be a serious injury and it would affect her life. In particular, Infanta Yuan was about to become Princess Shou, and her face was more important. Ruiping Great Elder Princess would not let go of Duke Xing's mansion so easily. Not only Ruiping Great Elder Princess, but also the Empress would put pressure on them. At this time, old Madam would think of Xiao Wanru. Of course, she would not let go of such an opportunity, so she drew everyone's attention to this matter. At this time, Marquis Xing's mansion was also helpless to deal with Hao Er's matter. Now they had to deal with Ruiping Great Elder Princess's mansion first. As Princess Chen, they had to hold on to her tightly and did not dare to offend her at this time. Your Highness, Marquis Xing's mansion sent someone to invite you over. They said that first young master fell and hurt his leg. Something serious happened. Nanny Yu hurried in and reported. Tell the people of Marquis Xing's mansion that I will go there right away. Xiao Wanru looked at Nanny Yu in the dressing table and gave an order lazily. The maids acted quickly. After a while, they freshened up, changed into a set of light purple clothes, and went out with Yu Jie and Chu Lu. The carriage had already been prepared. They got on the carriage and went all the way to Marquis Xing's mansion. As soon as they entered the mansion, they saw Nanny Yu waiting for them at the door. Seeing Xiao Wanru coming, Nanny Yu breathed a sigh of relief. At present, Princess Chen was the most outstanding person in Marquis Xing's mansion. If Princess Chen did not come, Marquis Xing's mansion might not be able to withstand the anger of Ruiping Great Elder Princess this time. Greetings, Princess Chen. How is eldest brother? Xiao Wanru waved her hand and walked in. First young master. I'm afraid he is not well. Nanny Yu's eyes turned red, and she hurried to catch up with Xiao Wanru. Chapter 1025. What Nanny Yu said was not very good, and it really didn't look good. When she arrived at Xiao Hua An's courtyard and saw Zhao Shiran, who seemed to be much haggard, she knew that Xiao Hua An was indeed in a bad condition. The doctors coming and going in the courtyard also looked pale. Zhao Shiran welcomed Xiao Wanru into the wing room. Xiao Hua An was being treated in the main room. There were too many people coming and going, so it was not convenient for Xiao Wanru to go there. First sister-in-law, why did my brother bump into Infanta Yuan An's carriage? After sitting down, Xiao Wanru asked. Zhao Shiran looked up at Xiao Wanru and was speechless for a moment. Xiao Wanru looked very calm. She raised her watery eyes slightly, showing a trace of peace or a little concern, but it was not obvious. Thinking of the things that happened to the second branch of Marquis Xing's mansion, Princess Chen probably didn't have much affection for Marquis Xing's mansion, right? Could it really be this Princess Chen who did it? Otherwise, how could it be so coincidental that it suddenly happened when Xiao Yuanhao had just become the heir of a duke and there was a special controversy in the imperial court? Considering the time, if something happened to her husband at this time, wouldn't Xiao Yuanhao benefit the most? First sister-in-law. Seeing that Zhao Shiran was silent, Xiao Wanru's face darkened. She looked at her and called her lightly with a trace of displeasure in her eyes. The obvious displeasure dispelled Zhao Shiran's doubts. It couldn't be Xiao Wanru who did it. On the one hand, Xiao Wanru didn't have the ability to do it. Even if she married Prince Chen now, so what? Now Prince Chen was not here, and the people around him were all from the inner court. Even if Prince Chen left a few guards, so what? How could she be so accurate? A person who could be so accurate must have a lot of people. Her father said that it was definitely not the means of the inner court. Although Princess Chen was smart, it was impossible for her to do such a thing. As for Prince Chen was not in the capital city now. Even if he was in the capital city, no one dared to look down on his identity. However, it was just an identity. Prince Chen, who had been ill for so many years, actually didn't have much strength. But now, Xiao Wanru's identity as Prince Chen was very useful. Since Prince Chen was not here, the Empress Dowager and the Emperor devoted all their love to Prince Chen and Princess Chen. This was also the painful conclusion that Marquis Xing's mansion and Princess Chen had come to after a confrontation. Princess Chen must not be offended. Fifth sister, this is too much of a coincidence. When your eldest brother returned to his mansion, his horse suddenly became startled and crashed into the carriage of Ruiping Great Elder Princess. What's more, Princess Yuan An was inside. This This is really an unexpected disaster. Zhao Shiran burst into tears. Your eldest brother wasn't seriously injured. It was Princess Yuan, then. Princess Yuan, then. How is Princess Yuan, then? Xiao Wanru asked in surprise. After she got the news, she didn't ask anyone to investigate it carefully, for fear that someone would find out that she was asking about it. Now it seemed that this matter was not as rumored. After Princess Yuan was injured, she yelled for the evil servants to break your big brother's legs. Zhao Shiran was sobbing. How could this happen? Xiao Wanru's face changed. Although Princess Yuan was arrogant, she shouldn't have done such a thing. Even if she was the granddaughter of great elder princess, she shouldn't have done such a thing. Moreover, at this moment, she should behave herself. After all, as the future princess of Zhou, she was destined to be dignified and decent in front of others. Xiao Wanru's face changed. Princess Yuan's face was disfigured. Zhao Shiran cried, she asked someone to beat your big brother like crazy. Disfigured? Is it serious? Xiao Wanru asked with a slight frown. I don't know. She only said that there was a scar on her face. After that, Princess Yuan pressed the scar between her eyebrows and asked the guards in the carriage to beat your big brother. Your big brother's legs were broken by them. Zhao Shiran said with hatred and cried even more aggrievedly, even if there are some scars on Princess Yuan's face, so what? There are so many good medicines in the imperial palace. How could they really disfigure her face? How could she break your big brother's legs? It was also because Huan was not the heir of Marquis Xing, otherwise, no matter how arrogant Princess Yuan was, she wouldn't dare to do so. At present, Huan was just an ordinary first child. Thinking of this, Zhao Shiran became more and more resentful. So, there was going to be a lawsuit now? There was a lawsuit to fight, so she was asked to come here. Nanny Yu was waiting at the door just now, and now she hurried to report to old madam, which all showed that she wanted to put her in the teeth of the storm. Although the first branch and the second branch of Marquis Xing's mansion didn't get along with each other and even didn't get along with each other for the position of heir of Marquis Xing, now that the position of heir of Marquis Xing had fallen into her brother's hands, she was destined to intervene in this matter. Compared with the previous matter, it was more reasonable for her to intervene in this matter. Could she intervene in this kind of matter? No matter who intervened, she would be in a mess. Zhao Shiran made it sound as if Infanta Yuan's injury was not that serious. However, if it was not serious, Infanta Yuan would not have asked someone to break Xiao Yuan's leg like a madwoman. If it was really like this, Minister Zhao would be the first one who couldn't bear it. Now he pushed this matter to her, of course, he wanted to get her into trouble. However, she had to intervene in this matter. What did Grandma say? Xiao Wanru asked after thinking for a while. Grandma is sick and can't get up. At this time, only Nanny Yu can help me. The whole mansion is in such a mess. Zhao Shiran stood up and suddenly knelt down. Princess Chen, please help me. I can't let Princess Yuan bully the people of Marquis Xing's mansion like this. Zhao Shiran said and burst into tears. First sister-in-law, get up first. Xiao Wanru reached out to pull Zhao Shiran up. Yu Jia helped Zhao Shiran up and then helped him to sit down in his original position. What did Minister Zhao say? Xiao Wanru rolled her watery eyes and asked. My father. Zhao Shiran didn't expect that Xiao Wanru would suddenly mention Minister Zhao at this time. After being stunned for a moment, he said, I haven't sent someone to tell my father. I don't know what he will say. Infanta Yuan acted violently and broke my eldest brother's leg. We have to ask the emperor about this. We can't let Infanta Yuan think that there is no one in Marquis Xing's mansion who can be bullied by anyone. Xiao Wanru said righteously. My father has too many things on his shoulders, so it's not convenient for him to help my husband so bluntly. But if you stand up for my husband first, my father can help you. Zhao Shiran wiped his tears with a handkerchief and said. What he said was very sincere. All the ministers should be careful with their words and deeds. It meant that even if Minister Zhao knew it, it was not convenient for him to stand up for them immediately. It was best for him to add fuel to the fire. Of course, it meant that they still had to push it. Xiao Wanru stood up for them. "Where is second uncle?" Xiao Wanru asked. "My father-in-law also fainted. Although he woke up now, he vomited blood," Zhao Shiran said with tears. Therefore, in this mansion, only Zhao Shiran was still alive. Zhao Shiran had a miscarriage not long ago, and he was not in good health. Xiao Jing had recovered from his illness at this time. Something happened in the mansion one after another. Either his wife or his son was killed, and he even lost the position of the heir. At this time, he suffered such a heavy blow. It was not too much for him to suddenly vomit blood and collapse, even though Xiao Jing didn't look like a person who couldn't take a blow in the past. However, things happened one after another at the moment, so it was inevitable for him to collapse in a moment of guilt. Needless to say, at this time, Xiao Jing's courtyard was full of doctors. This forced Xiao Wanru to go to the imperial palace to complain under the pressure of Infanta Yuanfen. Even if a girl got married, her maiden family was also very important. If her maiden family was inexperienced or was attacked by others, the whole family would be disgraced. Even if Xiao Wanru didn't get along well with Marquis Xing's mansion and she was a married girl, she had to stand up for them at this time. If Xiao Wanru didn't respond at this time, not only would she be looked down upon, but she would also make others think that she actually had no one to rely on. In this way, anyone in Marquis Xing's mansion could trample on her if they wanted to. Even though they had nothing to do with each other in the past, now the heir of Marquis Xing's mansion was Xiao Yuanhao, so she had to agree to this matter even if she didn't want to. "Fifth sister, please go to the Empress Dowager and ask her to uphold justice for our family," Zhao Shiran cried. "Your elder brother's leg injury is very serious. I'm afraid he has to lie in bed. In the future, the whole Marquis Xing's mansion will have to rely on you and Brother Hao." "First sister-in-law, I understand. I'll go to the imperial palace to find the Empress Dowager later," Xiao Wanru said calmly. That's great. Thank you, Princess Chen." "Thank you, fifth sister." Zhao Shiran was very moved. He stood up and was about to bow to Xiao Wanru again. This time, Yujie quickly stopped him. "First sister-in-law, have a good rest and take good care of my elder brother. I'll go to the imperial palace now." Xiao Wanru stood up and said softly. "Yes, I will." Zhao Shiran was moved and looked at Xiao Wanru with relief. He nodded repeatedly and sent Xiao Wanru to the corridor. After watching Xiao Wanru leave, he wiped the tears at the corners of his eyes hard and turned into another wing room. There was a middle-aged man sitting in the wing room with a calm face. He was Minister Zhao, Zhao Shiran's biological father, who was mentioned by Zhao Shiran and Xiao Wanru just now. "Father, Princess Chen has left." After entering the door, Zhao Shiran closed the door and said in a low voice. Xiao Wanru came so fast that she happened to block Minister Zhao in the yard. "Don't look down on this Princess Chen," Minister Zhao said slowly. He glanced at Xiao Wanru from the window just now and saw her come and leave in a hurry with a calm face. "Father, I've never looked down on Princess Chen, but in the current situation, she has to intervene in this matter. Since she has intervened, this matter is considered a matter of Prince Chen's mansion," Zhao Shiran said unhappily. His father had never thought highly of other women and only praised her. When did his father think highly of other women? "Don't act rashly," Minister Zhao said. "Father, the position of heir of my husband is gone." Zhao Shiran was a little anxious and unconsciously raised his voice. Chapter 1026. You are too anxious. Minister Zhao looked at his daughter for a while and suddenly said, "When you were unmarried, you had a big plan, but now you are in a mess." Minister Zhao shook his head with a hint of regret in his eyes and said, "If you were a man, I wouldn't have to worry about you." If she were a man, she would not have married into Marquis Xing's mansion and would not have been involved in the fight for the position of heir of Marquis Xing's mansion. After all, women were too sentimental. She even had Xiao Hua in her heart, which was different from what she had thought at the beginning. Looking at Minister Zhao's slightly reproachful eyes, Zhao Shiran took a deep breath, slowly lowered her head and said, "Yes, father, I am too impatient. In the future, anything will happen. Since you have fallen into this trap, you should be more careful. Father's meaning is still the same, but your meaning is different. Right now, I don't know who is right and who is wrong, so you should be careful," Minister Zhao said meaningfully. Zhao Shiran was silent for a while, raised her head after a long time, looked at Minister Zhao firmly and said, "Father, I see. I will deal with it carefully in the future and will not invite you here in a hurry so that you will be in a passive position." Minister Zhao was happy about his daughter's understanding. His face softened a little, and he sighed heavily with a soft look in his eyes and said, "In fact, it is all my fault. If it were not for me more than a decade ago, father, don't say that. I understand it very well. It's not your fault. It's all because that person is too cunning." Zhao Shiran gritted her teeth and interrupted Minister Zhao. "Well, be careful." Minister Zhao nodded helplessly. After getting into the carriage, Xiao Wanru frowned slightly. "Your Highness, what's bothering you?" Yu Jie asked. "Did you see someone in the other wing room just now?" Xiao Wanru actually only saw a little bit, so she was not very sure. "Which wing room?" Yu Jie was stunned. Chu Lu thought for a while and said, "Your Highness, you mean the other wing room next to the main room. The curtain over there moved a little before, and I seemed to see someone there." "You noticed it too?" Xiao Wanru raised her watery eyes slightly. She had thought that she had seen wrongly because it was just a glimpse. In fact, she really didn't know whether she had seen wrongly or not. "I saw it. Not only did the curtains move, but the color of the clothes seemed to be cyan," Chu Lu said. "That's right." A trace of understanding appeared in her watery eyes. "If I'm not mistaken, and there's really someone wearing cyan clothes, then it's the person I'm thinking about." "Cyan clothes? They are usually men's clothes. Are there other men hiding in eldest young mistress' yard?" Yu Jie reacted and said in surprise. Something had happened to eldest young master, and there were many doctors and servants coming and going in the courtyard. This man still dared to come in. Was he not afraid of being discovered? "He's probably just avoiding me, or he just doesn't want me to find him. His appearance won't cause any confusion to eldest young mistress in the mansion. Or, it's reasonable for him to appear in eldest brother's courtyard." Xiao Wanru analyzed. How is it possible for a man to appear in the yard of the eldest young mistress? Yu Jie asked in surprise. Men and women, even if they were relatives, they had to avoid arousing suspicion. Now it's an extraordinary time, and it's necessary to do something extraordinary. It may be eldest brother who comes to visit him. At this time, it should be Minister Zhao who can enter the inner courtyard to visit eldest brother directly. Xiao Wanru said leisurely. The name of Minister Zhao of the Ministry of Works appeared in her mind. She didn't know much about the affairs in the imperial court and only knew the name of Minister Zhao. Minister Zhao cares about his daughters so much? Chu Lu asked. As a married daughter, even if something happened to her son-in-law now, her father-in-law wouldn't be so anxious. Shouldn't it be Madame Zhao who comes to visit her? Perhaps Minister Zhao has a different opinion of Zhao Shiran. Xiao Wanru said meaningfully. After marrying into Marquis Xing's mansion, Zhao Shiran had always been smooth and slick. He was very likable in both his work and his conduct. Of course, old madam should like him, but it seemed a little inappropriate for Xiao Wanru. This matter was not urgent. No matter what Zhao Shiran was plotting, as long as he didn't plot against her, she could pretend not to see it. It was just that when she just married into Marquis Xing's mansion, Zhao Shiran seemed to have a lot of estrangement with Marquis Xing's mansion. Now it seemed that they got along well, or he had already taken Xiao Hua and side. Your Highness, let me get off the carriage at the intersection ahead. Yujie lifted the curtain, looked around, and said to Xiao Wanru carefully. She had arranged it before they went out. Chulu, go ahead. Xiao Wanru shook her head and said. Didn't you say that I would go ahead? Yujie asked. Fewer people have seen Chulu, Xiao Wanru said. In the past, it was Yujie who went out most of the time. Although she didn't need to explain to let Yujie go, it could also make others suspect her. At this time, it was more important to be safe. The carriage stopped at a corner ahead. Chulu got off the carriage quietly, and then the carriage continued moving forward. She was going to Rui and Great Elder Princess's mansion now, but she was not in a hurry. She deliberately let the carriage move slowly so that she could enjoy the street view along the way. Your Highness, does Ning Xueqing really have something to do with Xiao Baolin? Seeing Xiao Wanru looking at the scenery outside the window leisurely, Yujie tried to hold back her curiosity, but failed in the end. Ning Xueqing, who was locked up in the prison, had been involved with Xiao Yanru for a long time, and now she was still involved with Xiao Yanru. Yujie felt it was really incredible. At present, Xiao Baolin was not living a good life in the imperial palace. The empress didn't like her, and the emperor didn't favor her. How did she become a spy outside? Xiao Yanru has never been simple. Xiao Wanru said with a slight smile and a calm look in her eyes. Even in the imperial palace, she can reach out her hand. Isn't Qiu Yu an example? Xiao Wanru didn't believe that it was an accident that Qiu Yu appeared behind the curtain of the ritual ceremony. But it was also impossible that it was because of the Jiang family. In the Yuhui nunnery, the Jiang family was really isolated from the outside world. She even failed to protect Nanny Sheng, who was by her side, let alone others. After returning to the mansion, Qiu Yu must be out of his mind to conspire with the Jiang family because of such a thing. Therefore, it should be Xiao Yanru who conspired with the Jiang family. If this person was Xiao Yanru, then everything would make sense. With Qiu Yu's feelings for Xiao Yanru, even if Xiao Yanru was in the imperial palace, Lord Qiu might feel that Xiao Yanru had been wronged and pitted. He was also a descendant of an aristocratic family, so he must know Xiao Yanru's embarrassing situation in the imperial palace very well and must sympathize with her very much. Xiao Yanru asked him to help the Jiang family, and he would definitely agree. But now she is in such a situation in the imperial palace. Even if she wants to meet Lord Qiu, it is impossible. Yujie said. She still didn't think it was possible. Even though she had always trusted the princess, thinking of Xiao Yanru's situation, Yujie felt that if she were in such a situation, she would definitely not be able to get any benefits, let alone contact foreign ministers. The S in the imperial palace were not like the madams of aristocratic families outside. With so many people watching them, it was not convenient for them to meet men. Even if Xiao Yanru was a favored concubine, it would be difficult for her to hide from everyone in the imperial palace, not to mention that Xiao Yanru was an unpopular Baolin now. Of course, it's not just her. She can't do it alone. Xiao Wanru said with a smile. The corners of her pink and red lips were raised, showing a bit of generosity. Yujie felt that after her master married Prince Chen, she was too similar to the prince. Is there someone in the imperial palace who can meet her and help her? Of course. If there is no one, Xiao Yanru can't do this. Since she can contact Qiu Yu, of course, she can also contact other people. Xiao Wanru's eyes became deep. She had long thought of a person, a very key person. Without this person, Xiao Yanru would not be so comfortable in the imperial palace. Even without the emperor's favor and the empress's disgust, Xiao Yanru still lived a good life. Of course, Xiao Yanru should be pitiful on the surface. Perhaps because of this pity, other S in the imperial palace treated her well. After all, Xiao Yanru did not show any intention of competing for the emperor's favor. Since Xiao Yanru could use this person, she could also use him. When the time was right, she would naturally use this person. Who are you? Ning Xueqing looked at Chu Lu outside the cell warily and stepped back. Wang Xingxue was dead, and he was killed by the food sent by the prince's mansion. For this reason, she didn't dare to trust anyone now and felt that anyone who appeared in front of her might kill her. Wang Xingxue's death brought her great crisis. Now she didn't dare to ask for anything more and just wanted to leave here as soon as possible. Madam Ning, you don't want to leave? Chu Lu said with a smile and handed over a bag of snacks, which she had bought on the way here just now. Seeing that it was food, as the paper bag was handed over, the fragrance drifted out. Ning Xueqing's face changed dramatically, and she shook her hand hard a few times in front of her. I'm not hungry. I don't want to eat. Who is your master? Didn't Wang Xingxue die from eating? Ning Xueqing would not eat anything sent from outside. Madam Ning, don't worry. My master won't hurt you. Don't you think I look a little familiar? You should have seen this servant before. Chu Lu said with a smile and did not press her further. Although her hand was still stretched out, the smile on her face was extremely kind. Your master is... Ning Xueqing put down her hand hesitantly and took a careful look at Chu Lu. There were a few servant girls in every mansion, including senior servant girls, junior servant girls, and middle-aged servant girls. Even in the prince's mansion, Ning Xueqing might not be able to recognize all the servant girls, not to mention that the one she suspected was from Marquis Xing's mansion. There were servant girls of all sizes in the mansion, some of whom she had seen before, and some of whom she had not. It was impossible for her to remember them all. Chapter 1027. Madam, don't you know who our master is? Chu Lu said with a smile, reached out to take out an emerald bead from her bosom, shook it in front of Ning Xueqing, and said, "This is the Ministry of Justice. I can't tell you something. Please forgive me, Madam Ning." The emerald bead had once appeared at Wang Yishu's funeral, which made Dongxing, who was Wang Xingxue's concubine at that time, embarrassed. It was also because of this that Ning Xueqing got in touch with Xiao Yanru and even got in touch with her. Even Wang Xingxue didn't know about it. The little emerald bead in front of her actually represented Xiao Yanru. Ning Xueqing clenched her fists tightly and said in an agitated voice, "Please save me. I don't want to stay in this prison. I've already pushed all the blame to Wang Xingxue according to the instructions of the mansion." She believed it and deliberately lowered her voice. A few days ago, Marquis Xing's mansion also sent someone to ask her to push all the blame on Wang Xingxue, who had died. With her former relationship with Xiao Yanru, and this was indeed the best way for her to get out of trouble, she agreed with this statement without hesitation and changed her statement to the officials of the Ministry of Justice. Everything was Wang Xingxue's doing, including the plot against Xiao Wanru last time. Ning Xueqing only knew that there was someone behind Wang Xingxue, who seemed to be a strong enemy of Marquis Xing's mansion, so she tried every means to deal with Marquis Xing's mansion in secret. She dealt with Xiao Wanru, who had returned to her family, in order to deal with Duke Xing's mansion at that time and lead the matter to Madam of Duke Xing, Madam Jiang. She dealt with the current Yan Shi in order to deal with the current Marquis Xing's mansion. Of course, her purpose was to lead the matter to Xiao Jing of Duke Xing. For this purpose, Ning Xueqing even took out Wang Xingxue's private collection, which was a large amount of silver notes. At first glance, it was obvious that they didn't belong to Wang Xingxue. They were obviously given to him by someone. After the investigation, the officials of the Ministry of Justice vaguely found that there seemed to be someone behind Wang Xingxue, but they couldn't figure it out for a while, so they put the matter aside. Ning Xueqing was still locked up. Our master already knows what happened in our mansion. Don't you know that there is another master behind Wang Xingxue? I heard that Wang Xingxue used to be obedient to you. Although you're only a concubine in our mansion, you perform the duties of a madam. Don't you think you should be more sincere? Chu Lu said lightly with a smile on her face, looking very confident. She hinted at several points in her words to see Ning Xueqing's reaction. Before she came here, the princess had repeatedly told her to be calm and not to be impatient. The princess knew that Wang Xingxue had a master behind him, and she could vaguely guess who it was. However, Wang's Lu didn't wanged. And After Lu, Wang Wanged, who dared to Wang Ling, Wang Yishu was dead at that time. Although Wang Xingxue had some evidence, if Xiao Jing, Marquis Xing, really asked for it, Wang Xingxue had to give it to him. At that time, he had to find a backer. Later, Madame of Jiang and Xiao Yanru died one after another, so the evidence was useless. Xiao Jing, Marquis Xing, couldn't be blamed for Wang Yishu's death. As for the two people who could be blamed, Madame of Jiang went to the Yuhui nunnery at that time, and Xiao Yanru went to the imperial palace. Wang Yishu's evidence was useless. At least at that time, it was useless for Wang Xingxue to threaten Marquis Xing's mansion. After that, it should be Marquis Xing who tried to make Wang Xingxue work for him again to deal with Yan Shi, who had just arrived in the capital city. In general, the person behind Wang Xingxue actually took the blame for Marquis Xing's mansion. I really don't know. My husband has never told me about this kind of thing. I'm a woman, and a concubine at that. If he really cared about me, why didn't he make me his official wife after so many years? It's obvious that he has other ideas and wants to marry the daughter of a noble family. Ning Xueqing cried and reached out to wipe her tears, feeling aggrieved. Chu Lu sighed softly and said, "If Madame Ning doesn't want to say it, then forget it. Our master doesn't want to help you in vain." After saying that, she turned around and was about to leave. Ning Xueqing was anxious. She hurriedly rushed to the wooden fence, grabbed the two large wooden fences in front of her, and said anxiously, I've already told you what the mansion said before. That's not what happened. Those words were not ordered by our master. At most, our master will consider it. We can't let our master save you for those words. Chu Lu turned around and said sarcastically, Madame Ning is a smart person and knows what our master wants. If you don't be frank and want to get what you want, do you think it's possible? Is our master so stupid? After saying that, Chu Lu turned around and was about to leave. It seemed that she was very disappointed with Ning Xueqing and didn't even want to persuade her again. It was impossible for Ning Xueqing to let her go like this. She had been in the prison for a few days and just wanted to get out. Now that someone who could save her finally appeared, how could she let go of it? No matter how uneasy she was, she didn't dare to keep silent. You wait a minute. I'll tell you. Madame Ning knows it. That's great. Our master has always liked to associate with honest people. It's the best that Madame Ning can do this. Chu Lu said cheerfully and returned to the fence with a smile. The princess was right. Xiao Baolin and Madame Ning really had something to do with each other. As long as Xiao Baolin was involved, it would definitely be twice the result with half the effort. Then, she would ask someone to find Ning Xiankai. Xiao Wanru arrived at Rui and Great Elder Princess's mansion. As soon as she got out of the carriage, she saw Nanny Gao, who served Great Elder Princess, waiting there. Seeing her come down, Nanny Gao stepped forward with a smile and bowed, Greetings, Princess Chen. Why are you here, Nanny Gao? Xiao Wanru froze for a moment. She came to Rui and Great Elder Princess's mansion suddenly, so it was very surprising that Nanny Gao was here. I was going to go out to find the princess. It was Great Elder Princess's idea. I didn't expect to see the princess's carriage coming in when I got here. I happened to be able to welcome the princess. Nanny Gao said with a smile. She stepped aside to make way for Xiao Wanru and asked Xiao Wanru to go first. Grandma, why are you looking for me? Xiao Wanru asked as she walked inside. She often came to Rui and Great Elder Princess's mansion, so she was very familiar with it. Great Elder Princess heard that you went to Marquis Xing's mansion. She was afraid that you would suffer a loss, so she asked me to accompany you. Nanny Gao replied, Just now, I asked someone to prepare a carriage for Marquis Xing's mansion. As soon as she heard that she went to Marquis Xing's mansion, her grandma became anxious for her and even sent her personal nanny to protect her. Compared with her biological grandmother, who didn't show up in Marquis Xing's mansion and forced her to go against Infanta Yuan and old madam, she couldn't be compared with her biological grandmother, who didn't show up at Marquis Xing's mansion. Xiao Wanru was moved, and there was a faint tenderness in her eyes. I came here this time to discuss it with my grandma, in case something goes wrong in the end because I'm too young to know it. It's best that you think so, Princess. Great Elder Princess is really worried about you. Although you are Princess Chen now, in Great Elder Princess's eyes, you will always be Great Elder Princess's granddaughter and the junior she cares about. Nanny Gao breathed a sigh of relief in her heart, and the smile on her face became more and more sincere. She was really afraid that Princess Chen would misunderstand and think that Great Elder Princess had been watching her and monitoring her. After all, the one in front of her was Princess Chen, no longer the former 5th Miss Xiao. Now it seemed that she was relieved. The one in front of her was not only Princess Chen, but also the former 5th Miss Xiao, and also Great Elder Princess's granddaughter. Great Elder Princess was very tough. Although she was a woman, sometimes she didn't do things gently and even made people feel that she was aggressive. Nanny Gao was worried that Great Elder Princess would do bad things out of kindness. Now seeing that Xiao Wanru didn't care about it at all and was very grateful, she was really relieved. At the beginning, Infanta Qinghua didn't care about Great Elder Princess's concern. Great Elder Princess didn't even know about the marriage until after the marriage was granted. Although she was full of reluctance, since the emperor had said so, what else could she do? She could only watch her daughter marry into Duke Xing's mansion. Many things happened after that, but everyone only saw it on the surface. They all thought that after Infanta Qinghua left, she left suddenly, so no one could contact her. But in fact, when Infanta Qinghua first married into Duke Xing's mansion, Great Elder Princess sent someone to keep an eye on Infanta Qinghua. However, Infanta Qinghua didn't like it and even thought that her mother was monitoring her. After a few quarrels with Great Elder Princess had to withdraw her people, which made it impossible for Infanta Qinghua and heir of Duke Xing to go back after they left. As a result, when Infanta Qinghua was finally found, she was already unconscious and didn't know what had happened at all. Princess Chen, her granddaughter, had been lost outside for so many years. Princess Chen in front of her was grateful. Knowing that Great Elder Princess did it for her, Nanny Gao was so excited that her eyes couldn't help turning slightly red. Great Elder Princess's efforts were not in vain and she wasn't misunderstood again. Hearing that Xiao Wanru had come, Great Elder Princess had already asked someone to wait at the gate of the courtyard. As soon as she saw Xiao Wanru, she reported it one by one. The bead curtain was lifted high, and Xiao Wanru saw Rui and Great Elder Princess sitting in the middle of the main room in the courtyard. "Greetings, Grandma." Xiao Wanru came in and bowed to Great Elder Princess. Her hand had been held by Rui and Great Elder Princess. Looking at Xiao Wanru's face and finding that she was fine, she breathed a sigh of relief and pulled her to sit down in a chair beside her. "Did the people of Marquis Xing's mansion force you to fight with Ruiping Great Elder Princess's mansion?" In one sentence, she expressed all her concern and all the schemes of Marquis Xing's mansion. Xiao Wanru smiled warmly and vividly. Her grandma was not unreasonable. From these 2 sentences, it could be seen that her grandma was actually smart. "Grandma, what do you think I should do?" Chapter 1028. Remember in 1 second, 800 $say net wonderful pop-up window free reading. He didn't say yes, nor did he say no. He just went along with the flow and revealed the entire truth. Marquis Xing's mansion is really not making any progress. How could they let a married woman take the place? Rui and Great Elder Princess, who obviously understood it, sneered and scolded. "Does grandmother think I can or can't do it?" Xiao Wanru said straightforwardly. She didn't have to play tricks in her grandma's place. This feeling was very good, which was the feeling of being fearless as a relative. You don't have to be careful with your responses. Just say whatever comes to your mind. Even if you say something wrong, your maternal grandmother will forgive you. This was the feeling of family. It was very warm and very reassuring. There was no need to beat around the bush. He just had to say what was on his mind. "You can't meddle in this," Rui and Great Elder Princess said in a deep voice with a little fierceness in her soft eyes. She snorted and said, Marquis Xing's mansion has put all the blame on you. If you don't go, it means that you are incompetent, your brother is incompetent, or the Marquis Xing's mansion that your brother will inherit in the future is incompetent. Even if Marquis Xing's mansion is incompetent, you, as Princess Chen's maiden family, still can't take advantage of them. How vicious. Ruyan Great Elder Princess really hated what Marquis Xing's mansion did. I can't ignore it. They're all sick. Xiao Wanru said with a soft smile. She held Ruyan Great Elder Princess's hand and shook her head coquettishly. Grandma, don't interfere in this matter. It's not good for you to interfere in it. After all, this matter belongs to Marquis Xing's mansion now. If you interfere in it, others will have something on you. Ruyan Great Elder Princess had a noble status, but she had no real power. If she interfered too much in the affairs of Marquis Xing's mansion, it would be very disadvantageous to Ruyan Great Elder Princess. Moreover, they were going against Ruaping Great Elder Princess's mansion this time. Xiao Wanru was even more unwilling to let Rui and Great Elder Princess intervene in it. What? They are so shameless. Ruyan Great Elder Princess was furious. She had thought that old madam of Marquis Xing's mansion would try to suppress Xiao Wanru, but she did not expect that this old woman was so shameless that she left everything to Xiao Wanru. Sick. I'm going to see her. I'll bring an imperial physician to see her. Rui and Great Elder Princess was so angry that she was about to stand up. Seeing that the situation was not good, Xiao Wanru hurriedly reached out to stop her and said anxiously, Grandma, please stop for a while. I may not be at a disadvantage. If you go there at this time, even if there is an imperial physician, it will be useless. Old madam's illness is not fake. She can faint and fall ill at will. Even an imperial physician can't find anything wrong with her. Old madam's old illness was real, and it was indeed serious. Otherwise, when she first met old madam, her situation would not have been so critical. She was old and sick. Even if the imperial physician wanted to check, he wouldn't be able to find anything. Wasn't it up to her? Could it be that she wasn't sick? Ruyan Great Elder Princess was straightforward and hot-tempered. If she really pretended to be angry when she came to Marquis Xing's mansion, it would be fine. But if she accidentally angered old madam, it would be a big deal. Old madam was not the madam of the Jiang family, so she didn't have so many weaknesses. Although she seemed to be unkind to Xiao Wanru on the surface, she was just partial. This partiality would even get the sympathy of many old madams in the mansion. Which family would treat so many grandchildren equally in their mansion? Of course, there was a difference between a granddaughter who grew up by her side and a granddaughter who came from outside. The difference was that she couldn't force old madam to die because of this. Yes, she could force old madam to die because of this. If such a thing really happened, her grandma would be in trouble. Xiao Wanru didn't want her grandma to get into trouble because of this kind of thing. Xiao Jing was not simple. Not only was he not simple, but Xiao Wanru also suspected that he had something to do with her father's death. He could even kill her own brother. At this time, why couldn't she push the blame to her grandma after killing old madam? At this time, she couldn't let her grandma go to Marquis Xing's mansion in anger. So what? If she wants to be sick, she can stay sick, so that she won't come out and make trouble in the future. Rui and Great Elder Princess was so angry that her face turned pale. How could there be such a cruel person in the world? How could she push this kind of thing to you? She really hated old madam of Marquis Xing's mansion. She couldn't wait to see old madam of Marquis Xing's mansion in front of her, take her to the Empress Dowager and talk to her. As she said, she pulled Xiao Wanru's hand away and tried to stand up. She really couldn't bear it. Grandma, do you think there is something strange about my father and mother? Seeing that she couldn't stop Rui and Great Elder Princess, Xiao Wanru rolled her eyes and hurriedly said while grabbing the corner of Rui and Great Elder Princess's clothes. Great Elder Princess's face froze. Her lips trembled twice and immediately turned pale. You mean your father and mother were killed by someone? For many years, Rui and Great Elder Princess had always had such a question, but she felt it was unbelievable. Hearing Xiao Wanru's words, she immediately couldn't help thinking of her daughter. Her eyes turned red. Her daughter was mentally abnormal when she died, and she didn't even see her daughter for the last time. That day, as soon as someone from Duke Xing's mansion came, they said that her daughter was dead. When she went to have a look, she only glanced at her from a distance and saw her daughter's pale and bloodless face lying there quietly and lifelessly, which was completely different from her mental state before. At that time, she seemed to be the gentle and stubborn daughter she used to be. With just a glance, Rui and Great Elder Princess fainted. When she woke up, the coffin had been nailed. Rui and Great Elder Princess didn't dare to think about what happened after that, only feeling that everything was a mess. She watched her daughter being buried. After her serious illness, even her memory was not very good. She rarely recalled that period of memory. Now hearing her granddaughter's words, she didn't think that she was missing it, but when she thought about it again, her heart still ached. Tears fell down unconsciously. At present, the image of her granddaughter seemed to overlap with the image of her daughter in her memory. Grandma. Xiao Wanru's eyes also turned red. She pulled Rui and Great Elder Princess to sit down again, reached out to hold Rui and Great Elder Princess's waist, and snuggled up to her. Grandma, you are the support of Hao and me. If something happens to you, won't it make the people of Marquis Xing's mansion laugh at us and make us sad? Rui and Great Elder Princess's heart twitched. The daughter in her memory, the pitiful granddaughter in front of her, and her little grandson all came together, making her mind extremely clear at this moment. She moved the corners of her mouth with difficulty and said, Do you think it has something to do with Marquis Xing's mansion? She said this in response to Xiao Wanru's previous words. Outside second uncle once left the capital city and went to the border secretly when my father had an accident. Young Master Yan's father met second uncle there. Later, second uncle left and my father had an accident. When my mother was found, she lost her mind. After giving birth to Hao, she died. Second uncle and young Master Yan's father suddenly became close. This time, young Master Yan almost had an accident, and second uncle should be behind it. Xiao Wanru said in a low voice, biting her lip and suppressing the pain in her heart. All the suspicions were about Xiao Jing. You mean, it was Xiao Jing who killed your father? No one knew that he left the capital city secretly, and no one knew that he killed your father, but the man surnamed Yan knew it. In order to prevent this matter from being exposed, Xiao Jing didn't want his son surnamed Yan to go to the capital city and stay as an official in the capital city. After all, Rui and Great Elder Princess had experienced many things. After suppressing the pain in her heart, she immediately understood all the meaning of Xiao Wanru's words. At this moment, she was so angry that her face turned livid. She slapped the table heavily and said, If I find out that these things are true, Xiao Jing will pay for your father's death with his life. Grandma, this is my guess. I guessed it according to the letter young Master Yan sent me. There is no factual evidence, but I think it is true. When I was a child, I followed my father and mother and lived a good life. Even if my father hid his identity and joined the army, I was fine. How could such a big disaster happen later? Why is it so coincidental? Xiao Wanru said with red eyes, and a trace of malicious hatred flashed in her eyes. If this was true, then the hatred of two lives could be considered to be rooted. It turned out that Xiao Jing not only wanted to deal with her and Hao, but also wanted to cut the weeds and dig up the roots of her brother. Xiao Jing's family was so vicious that they didn't even leave a chance for her and Hao, to survive. I'm going to investigate what happened that day. Rui and Great Elder Princess gritted her teeth hard and tasted blood in her mouth. If this was true, she would definitely make Xiao Jing pay for it with his life. Compared with this, the matter of the title of Marquis Xing's mansion was not so important. What was more important than the revenge of her daughter and son-in-law? Grandma, it's better for you to investigate this matter. It happened too long ago. I was not born at that time, and I don't know many old things. Grandma is my mother's biological mother. Even if you want to investigate it, it's reasonable. But now I still lack a clear reason to investigate it. Xiao Wanru said softly. It was indeed the most suitable for her grandma to investigate this matter. Neither she nor Chu Luqian was suitable. On the one hand, it was because there was nothing between them more than a decade ago. On the other hand, although Chu Luqian had a lot of subordinates and secret forces to investigate what happened more than a decade ago, with so many people watching him, if someone deliberately exaggerated this matter to Chu Liuqian's birth, it might arouse the suspicion of the emperor. It was better to let her grandma investigate this matter. There was also the most important reason at the moment. Only in this way could her grandma get out of the matter between Marquis Xing's mansion and Infanta Yuan. Her grandma was in the same situation as her now. It was impossible for her grandma not to help her. But if she helped her to fight against Infanta Yuan's mansion, it would do her grandma no good. She had to make the situation in the capital more complicated so that she and her grandma could get out of it. Chapter 1029. After discussing with Rui, and Great Elder Princess in Great Elder Princess's mansion, Xiao Wanru and Rui, and Great Elder Princess entered the imperial palace. In the Empress Dowager's Palace of Benevolent Peace, Infanta Yuan cried and fell to the ground. Rui, and Great Elder Princess knelt beside her and cried with Infanta Yuan. The Empress Dowager was sitting in the middle, and the Empress was sitting beside her. The Empress's face was gloomy, and her eyes fell on Infanta Yuan, with a little displeasure. Her son suffered a loss when a good girl became like this. If it weren't for Infanta Yuan's identity, the Empress would have wanted to break off the engagement. Empress Dowager and Empress, please uphold justice for Yuan. They. Marquis Xing's mansion has gone too far. Rui, and Great Elder Princess said angrily while wiping her tears. Get up and talk. The Empress Dowager waved her hand and said. Two palace maids came over and helped Infanta Yuan and Rui, and Great Elder Princess up. The two of them stopped being pretentious and sat down together. What did the imperial physician say? The Empress asked with her eyes falling on Infanta Yuan. Infanta Yuan's face was wrapped up, and only her eyes were exposed. There were some scratches on her forehead, but they were not deep. The Empress didn't know whether there were other scratches on her face, whether they were deep or not, and whether they could be intact. It was related to her son's personal affairs, so how could the Empress not ask about it? Your Highness, although there is a cure, her face was almost ruined. Yuan is going to marry Prince Zhou soon, and there may be some scars at that time. Rui, and Great Elder Princess cried, and her tears fell again. Her words were very good. She didn't say it was not good, but only said that there might be some scars when she married Prince Zhou. A woman would only get married once. If there were some scars on her face when she got married, it was a fatal injury for a woman. Infanta Yuan's tears fell involuntarily again, and she called out in a low voice, Grandma. But she couldn't say a word anymore. The Empress was furious. She patted the armrest of the chair hard and said angrily, Is there any law? How dare she run amok in the street? Mother, we must investigate this matter severely. If even Yuan encountered such a thing when he went out on the streets, what would happen to the daughters of other families? Infanta Yuan not only had a title, but she was also the future princess of Zhou. Stepping on Infanta Yuan's face was equivalent to stepping on Prince Zhou's face and the Empress's face. His son's wife might even be the future crown princess or the future empress. If he made such a scene on his wedding day, how should people talk about how to deal with it in the future? It might even leave a heavy mark in history, saying that his son married a woman without face. Thinking of this, the Empress was furious. Marquis Xing's mansion was really not a good place. In vain, she had wanted to marry Xiao Yanru into her son's mansion before. Fortunately, he didn't marry into Prince Zhou's mansion at that time. If he had married into Prince Zhou's mansion, he would have stirred up trouble in his son's mansion. What do you think we should do about it? The Empress Dowager frowned and asked slowly. Mother, Marquis Xing's mansion has to be responsible for what happened to Yuan and this time. They have to be punished for their lax discipline. Marquis Xing's title of nobility can be demoted again, so as to avoid many troubles. I heard that the previous dynasty even quarreled with the emperor because of the issue of the heir of Marquis Xing's mansion. Why don't we just abolish the title of nobility, lest they get impatient after fighting for it? The empress said coldly. She had nowhere to vent her anger, so she directly aimed at the title of nobility of Marquis Xing's mansion. Infanta Yuan was her future daughter-in-law. Offending Infanta Yuan was equivalent to offending her. She wanted to show the officials the status of Infanta Yuan. Did Xiao Jing, Marquis Xing, really think that they were still the prosperous Duke Xing's mansion? The empress was quick-witted. Since Marquis Xing had given her the handle, how could she not use it? She wanted to correct Infanta Yuan's name by humiliating Marquis Xing's mansion and let others see the importance of Infanta Yuan. Maybe she could increase her son's bargaining chip in the fight for the throne in the future. Yuan An's identity was noble, but the most noble thing at the moment was not her identity as a commandery princess, but her identity as the future princess of Zhou. Just because of this, she punished the person who offended commandery Princess Yuan severely, which showed that the Empress Dowager and the Emperor thought highly of Prince of Zhou. This high regard could even become the key to choosing the crown prince in the future. Everyone in the imperial court was secretly trying to figure out the emperor's mind and secretly guessing who the emperor would choose in the end. If the emperor showed a little affection, he could definitely make the officials lean towards him secretly. This was also the important reason why the empress insisted on punishing Marquis Xing's mansion. She not only wanted to punish them, but also wanted to punish them severely. She wanted the entire imperial court to see that the emperor and the empress dowager attached great importance to Zhou and let them guess that Zhou was the future crown prince. Not only his status could not be shaken, but also his status as the future princess Zhou could not be shaken. She couldn't deal with a dying patient, but she could deal with a declining Marquis Xing's mansion. The heir of Marquis Xing was Xiao Wanru's younger brother. Now there was no need to fight for it, so she simply did not have it. Prince Chen had made Ruiping Great Elder Princess's mansion lose face at the gate of the imperial palace, which also made Prince Zhou's mansion lose face. Coincidentally, she could punish them for this matter and get back their face. Empress Dowager, Rui and Great Elder Princess and Princess Chen asked to see you. A eunuch hurriedly came in and reported. Infanta Yuan looked at Ruiping Great Elder Princess silently, and Ruiping Great Elder Princess nodded gently. Let them in. The Empress Dowager ordered. The eunuch left and soon led Rui and Great Elder Princess and Xiao Wanru in. After bowing to the Empress Dowager and the Empress, they sat down. Princess Chen, are you here for Yuanan and Marquis Xing's mansion today? The Empress did not beat around the bush and went straight to the point. She looked at Xiao Wanru coldly and became furious when Xiao Wanru asked for mercy. She couldn't deal with Chu Luchen, but she didn't believe that she couldn't deal with Princess Chen. Your Majesty, we have indeed come for this matter. Xiao Wanru said softly. Before coming here, she had discussed with Rui and Great Elder Princess how to deal with it, so she was not surprised by the Empress's words. Since you are here for this matter, you don't have to say any more. Look at Yuan then. It is said that there may be scars on the day of the wedding, and even in the future. Marquis Xing's mansion has done such a thing. Do you want to shirk the responsibility? The Empress said harshly and pointed at Infanta Yuan. Princess Yuan, who was wrapped up tightly, burst into tears again. She turned her head and called out, Grandmother. He threw himself at Ruiping University. In Great Elder Princess's arms. Ruiping Great Elder Princess held Infanta Yuan in her arms and looked at Xiao Wanru unkindly. Although she didn't say anything, the meaning in her eyes was very clear. This matter couldn't be settled easily. The Empress Dowager's face darkened. Although she had promised her grandson to protect Xiao Wanru, she didn't promise to protect Marquis Xing's mansion. Although Prince Zhou was inferior to Chu Luchen, he was still her grandson, and he was the legitimate grandson. How could she let an outsider trample on his face? Xiao Wanru used to be a person who knew when to advance and when to retreat, and she even thought highly of her because of Chu Luchen. But now she seemed to be an arrogant person. Was she going to take the responsibility for the matter of Marquis Xing's mansion and plead with her together with Rui and Great Elder Princess? If she still stood on her side this time, what would the Empress and Prince Zhou do? Princess Chen, what do you say? The Empress Dowager said with a frown, and her eyes were deep and cold. If Xiao Wanru really came to plead for Marquis Xing's mansion or said that Infanta Yuan and was also responsible for this matter, the Empress Dowager would be too disappointed with her. She didn't like this granddaughter-in-law. Xiao Wanru stood up, bowed to the Empress Dowager again, and said, Imperial Grandmother, I'm here today to plead for Infanta Yuan and on behalf of my brother. Plead. Infanta Yuan and was stunned for a moment. She raised her head and couldn't cry for a moment. Although she didn't know what had happened, she was very clear that Xiao Hua and ran into her with his horse and scared her horse. After the carriage overturned, she got up and asked someone to break Xiao Hua An's legs. After that, she went to complain to her grandmother in tears. After that, Xiao Hua An's horse was dragged to her mansion. However, it was found that what happened later had nothing to do with Xiao Hua An's horse, but the horse that pulled the carriage. The horse suddenly got scared and kicked Xiao Hua An's horse, which happened to come over, and then Xiao Hua An's horse ran into her carriage. It could be said that there was more trouble. However, Infanta Yuan and certainly wouldn't tell others about the result of the investigation, even if it was the Empress Dowager and the Empress. She insisted that Xiao Hua An's horse got scared and Xiao Hua An's legs were hit by himself. As for the other things, no matter who said it, Infanta Yuan and could just cry. But now, what did Xiao Wanru mean? How could Xiao Hua An really admit his guilt? Infanta Yuan and felt that she had punched hard on cotton. She had already decided how to deal with it. Why did Xiao Wanru raise it high and put it down gently? Shouldn't she fight tit for tat and fight for Marquis Xing's mansion to win? Didn't Marquis Xing's mansion invite Xiao Wanru there? Of course, their purpose was to let Xiao Wanru come forward. Yes, I want to ask for forgiveness. Please forgive this accident, Infanta Yuan Pen. Xiao Wanru bowed deeply to Infanta Yuan and said with a guilty look, no one expected that it would happen so suddenly. My brother's horse got scared and hurt Infanta Yuan and as well as himself. Now my brother is still lying in bed and his condition is unknown. When he gets better, I will ask him to go to your mansion to ask for forgiveness in person. With guilt turning into sincerity, Xiao Wanru bowed deeply to Infanta Yuan, and again, raised her head, and said with a serious look, no matter how Infanta Yuan and asks Marquis Xing's mansion to apologize, I mean that we will obey your arrangement. Marquis Xing's mansion is a subject, and we have to be loyal. As soon as she said that, Ruiping Great Elder Princess and Infanta Yuan and changed their faces dramatically. Chapter 1030. I made a mistake, so I have to accept it. I can't do what Minister Zhao said. Imperial Grandmother, I'm here to apologize to Infanta Yuan and on behalf of Marquis Xing's mansion today. It's reasonable to destroy the foundation of Marquis Xing's mansion. Xiao Wanru lowered her head and said with a sad look. This time, the Empress's face also changed dramatically. She stared at Xiao Wanru's face coldly and jumped twice fiercely. Infanta Yuan and was the master. No matter how weak Marquis Xing's mansion was, it was still the Emperor's subject. How could Infanta Yuan and be the master here? Infanta Yuan and was not the master, so was Prince Zhou. If the position of the crown prince was not right, Prince Zhou could not be regarded as the future master. What was more, Minister Zhao was mentioned. Compared with Xiao Jing, Marquis Xing, Minister Zhao was an important minister in the imperial court, so how could he be ignored? Ruiping Great Elder Princess suddenly felt that she had made a wrong decision. If she really did it in Xiao Wanru's way, what would others think of her mansion and Prince Zhou's mansion? She might even cause trouble for Prince Zhou's mansion. Prince Zhou and the Empress would definitely not like it. She looked at the Empress's cold face and reached out to pat Infanta Yuan An's back gently. Infanta Yuan An's voice became lower and she only sobbed in a low voice, looking very weak and pitiful. Princess Chen, I dare not. It's up to the Empress and the Empress Dowager to decide. Yuan An is just an infanta. Although she has the royal bloodline, Marquis Xing's mansion was too modest when facing her. If the first young master of your mansion had been more careful at that time, it wouldn't have happened. Ruiping Great Elder Princess lowered her head and wiped the corner of her eyes. Is Marquis Xing's mansion trying to shirk responsibility? No matter who he is, he has to bear the responsibility for what happened, right? The Empress said with a cold snort. She had intended to condemn Marquis Xing's mansion from the perspective of a monarch and a minister. She even wanted to take away the title of Marquis Xing's mansion from the foundation, so that Xiao Wanru could also be slapped hard and make Marquis Xing's mansion completely lose hope. Unexpectedly, Xiao Wanru came in and said so. If she continued to say so at this time, she would still have to say it from the perspective of a monarch and a minister. Although the Empress felt that Xiao Huan was disloyal and unfilial to bump into Princess Yuan An's carriage, Prince of Zhou was not the crown prince yet. Even if she had this thought, she could not say it. Since Xiao Wanru mentioned it first, she couldn't mention it again. Yes, Her Majesty is right. Daughter-in-law also thinks so. Originally, I wanted daughter-in-law's grandmother to come and apologize to Empress Dowager and Her Majesty. Coincidentally, daughter-in-law's grandmother is sick. Her old illness relapsed and she can't even get up from the bed. There is no one in the manor who can make decisions. Eldest sister-in-law invites daughter-in-law to come and ask daughter-in-law to apologize to Empress Dowager and Her Majesty. Xiao Wanru followed the Empress's words and said. Sick. She is really sick when she is sick. The Empress had nowhere to vent her anger. Hearing that old madam was sick, she sneered and said, Old madam of your mansion is really in poor health. Her old illness relapses as soon as something happens. This is not a good thing. I heard that there is a nun in the Yuhui nunnery with good medical skills. You can let old madam of your mansion go to the Yuhui nunnery to recuperate. Originally, the Empress wanted to cut off the inheritance of Marquis Xing's mansion. Now Xiao Wanru mentioned it, she could not do so, so she directly vented her anger on old madam. The more she thought about it, the more she felt that old madam of Marquis Xing's mansion deliberately fell ill at this time. How could it be so coincidental? Obviously, she came at this time, but now she got Xiao Wanru involved. It was obvious that she didn't take her seriously. Grandma has always been in poor health, and her old illness has always relapsed in the past. Xiao Wanru said hesitantly. Her eyes looked a little nervous and she seemed to be defending old madam. Although it was said that old madam of Marquis Xing's mansion did not get along with Princess Chen, she was Princess Chen's elder on the surface after all. She has been sick all the time, so of course she needs to recuperate well. Come on, call an imperial physician for me. If old madam really can't recover from her illness, she can recuperate quietly. The Empress frowned and said unhappily. Since she could not embarrass Marquis Xing's mansion in public, she could make use of old madam of Marquis Xing's mansion. Anyway, she had disliked that old woman for a long time. Marquis Xing's mansion, which could give birth to Xiao Yenru, a little bitch, was not a good family. Yes, Empress. A eunuch answered and left. Xiao Wanru looked at the Empress Dowager uneasily and looked a little flustered, as if she didn't know how to deal with it. Everyone could see that the Empress looked unhappy. If she went up to plead for mercy, she would definitely be reprimanded. But if she didn't plead for mercy, old madam was her elder. The so-called quiet cultivation, which was proposed by the Empress, could not be avoided at will. Even if it was not the Empress's order, old madam of Marquis Xing had to avoid it this time. No matter how long it would take, she would definitely have to do quiet cultivation. Princess Chen, come to me. The Empress Dowager said in panic. Xiao Wanru, who was helpless, waved her hand and pointed to the place aside. Xiao Wanru did not plead for mercy for Marquis Xing's mansion, which made the Empress Dowager very satisfied. The Empress Dowager had always been partial to Chu Luchen and felt that it was right for Xiao Wanru to be full of Chu Luchen at the moment. As for Marquis Xing's mansion, which was not good to Xiao Wanru, she would take care of her if she could. In the past, the Empress Dowager thought that old Madam of Marquis Xing's mansion was very good. When she was free, she was willing to ask someone to call her in to talk to her. But now she found that old Madam was becoming more and more muddle-headed. She really should have a quiet cultivation, lest she always used her name to stir up trouble. If old Madam of Marquis Xing's mansion did not suppress Xiao Wanru, it would be a good thing for Xiao Wanru and Chen Er. The Empress Dowager didn't care about the Empress's anger. But the Empress Dowager was very satisfied that Xiao Wanru wholeheartedly protected Prince Chen's mansion after marrying into Prince Chen's mansion and did not help her maiden family to hold Chu Luchen back. At this time, seeing Xiao Wanru being embarrassed, she waved her hand to ask her to come over. Xiao Wanru nodded submissively and sat beside the Empress Dowager. When she looked up, she happened to meet Infanta Yuan An's eyes. Infanta Yuan then, who was tightly wrapped, only showed her eyes. She looked at Xiao Wanru with deep eyes. Although her eyes were still red and there was even a trace of tears at the corners of her eyes, there was no pain in her eyes at all. It seemed that her injury was just to scare people at that time and it should not be a big problem. How is Infanta Yuan An's injury? Did you let someone have a good look at it? Xiao Wanru asked softly in a very kind attitude. Infanta Yuan An shivered all over and immediately concentrated. She looked at Xiao Wanru with a gentle look in her eyes, but there was something in her eyes. She looked up at Ruiping Great Elder Princess, who was leaning against her, and seemed to not know what to say for a moment. She was injured, so her expression at the moment was the most pitiful. Thank you for your concern, Princess Chen. Ruiping Great Elder Princess sighed with tears in her eyes and said, Yuan An's injury is not very serious. It's not a big problem. She said it was not a big problem, but the tears in her eyes showed that it was not a big problem. Why don't we let the imperial physicians have a good look at it? It'll be better if more imperial physicians can do it. Yuan An's face can't be really injured. Ruiping Great Elder Princess suggested. I have. They all said, it's okay. Ruiping Great Elder Princess said reluctantly. The smile on her face was very long, with a bit of bitterness. She was also careless. She insisted on going to the street, saying that she liked a gift and wanted to give it to the Empress Dowager for her birthday. Unexpectedly, Ruiping Great Elder Princess couldn't even go on speaking. For the sake of the Empress Dowager's gift, she made a special trip, which was an accident caused by her filial piety. The Empress Dowager looked at Infanta Yuan, and with a gentle look in her eyes. Marquis Xing's mansion is really outrageous. She is so old, but she still gallops on the street. It's really too much. Old Madam is not good at managing the house and has been ill all the time. The legal wife of their mansion, the current co-wife, is also not reliable. Only a young mistress of the younger generation is in charge of the affairs. Ruiping Great Elder Princess said, Marquis Xing's mansion is really more and more ignorant. I originally wanted to let Hao go back, but now I think it's better to let him stay in Great Elder Princess's mansion. As a rule, Xiao Yuanhao now became the heir of Marquis Xing's mansion, so he should go back to Marquis Xing's mansion. It's true that he doesn't need to go back. Marquis Xing's mansion is in such a mess that there is not even an official elder to take charge of the affairs. Even if he goes to Marquis Xing's mansion, it's impossible for Marquis Xing to take care of him by himself. The Empress was very unhappy. Hearing Ruiping Great Elder Princess's words, she immediately said, Thank you for your concern, Your Highness. Ruiping Great Elder Princess stood up to express her gratitude. With the Empress's words, the matter was settled. Infanta Yuan An's eyes flickered. She looked at the angry Empress, the respectful Ruiping Great Elder Princess, and Xiao Wanru, who was a little uneasy, and suddenly felt that something was wrong. Shouldn't she be the one who suffered the most grievance here? Today, she came to the imperial palace with the intention to fight against Xiao Wanru aboveboard. Why was the situation at present different from what she had expected? Why did she feel that Xiao Wanru was the biggest beneficiary? As a victim, the Empress and the Empress Dowager didn't feel much pity for her, but Xiao Wanru got the biggest benefit. As soon as Xiao Wanru moved her hand, Ruiping Great Elder Princess, who was holding her hand, immediately reacted and gently pressed her hand, indicating that she should not say anything now. Ruiping Great Elder Princess glanced thoughtfully at Ruiping Great Elder Princess and Xiao Wanru. Her eyes became deep, but she took her granddaughter's hand, indicating that she should continue to observe quietly. The Empress's eyes were cold. As soon as Ruiping Great Elder Princess said that, she immediately knew that she had made a slip of the tongue and actually benefited Ruiping Great Elder Princess. However, she couldn't change her words. Moreover, the Empress Dowager was still around. She felt very aggrieved, but she couldn't directly vent her anger on Xiao Wanru. Judging from the Empress Dowager's gentle look, she knew that the Empress Dowager was taking care of the invalid. A palace maid came in a hurry. Seeing the Empress sitting inside, she breathed a sigh of relief and carefully walked behind the Empress to serve her.